Do not adjust your radio dial. You are tuned in to the Mark Order Podcast. Join the Mark Order.
Oh. Boy, it's full house in here tonight. It's hot.
It is.
Turn the air on. It's hot.
You're basically a tanner. That's how full of a house it is.
Can I be calm?
Cut it out.
Oh, God.
You can become I was just talking today about like justice for Kimmy Gibbler and how they were like a bully to her and made her feel bad because she had smelly feet. And meanwhile, Joey is like a deadbeat who's a puppeteer. And there's like a couple that lives in their attic even though they both have jobs. Like it's very weird.
Hold on. Joey moved in because Danny needed help. He gave up on his bachelor living for his best friend. Jesse and Rebecca stayed in the attic because Michelle missed them. They gave up on their own house for the children. Do not speak ill of them.
That's fucking weird. I'll say that right off the bat.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention that I'm going to just guess that San Francisco real estate values have always been super high. So it would make sense that they couldn't afford their own place, but it is a little much when you decide we're going to have 2 children and stay living in this house, essentially rent free.
And on top of that, they were bullying a child. Like,
I mean, I don't mind that.
They were so mean to Kimmy.
Were terrible, and
you never smelled them.
And she refused to keep her shoes on, and it meant she probably wasn't washing them. That's on her.
And Ryan's
you don't know. You never snatched them.
He would have.
Of course he would have.
He's a foot guy.
It's true.
See? We're not here to kink shame, Ryan. Don't worry about that.
I'm just here to defend the Tanner household.
I'm just saying, glass houses and stones and the whatnot, okay? Like, maybe stop picking on Kimmy for being weird.
Like glad houses and stones? Like glad stones?
No, like sugar glass or real glass houses, Ryan. Those type.
Oh, boy, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Welcome, everybody who's listening. We have so much to talk about. And it's a full house here tonight. This is the official welcome to Asian Joe. Hi, Asian Joe.
Big time is on the first one.
Well, hey, let me explain myself first of all.
Go ahead.
First of all, you told me, hey, let's meet in Georgia for Dynamite, right? Like, cool. That'd be an awesome way to get this going. I'll fly to Georgia. You guys stood me up. Good rib.
Good one.
Yeah, great. And then I get a message from Kate, and she's like, no, I heard you are part of Mark Order now, so I need a personal Uber driver. Come find me and take me to Casa Bonita and help me go find vinyl records and all this other stuff. So I had to play her personal chauffeur.
It's true. You're a part of the Mark Order, but you are a young boy right now. Okay.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
I expect you to carry my bags. I expect you to drive me to Casa Bonita, even though we couldn't eat there. And I expect you to just hang out while I play Sophie's Choice with a bunch of vinyl and then just end up buying literally all of them anyway, except for one that I put back because I knew it would be in mass produced, and another that I put back because it was essentially a duplicate of what I was already buying. So.
And then I listened back to the show from Wednesday night, and now I have to buy Ryan a swamp.
See? You have to buy a swamp from Ryan. See, Ryan and Kate, somebody does go back and listen.
What a fool. He'll learn better.
Somebody does listen. Well, Joe, welcome aboard officially. We made the announcement, the official announcement last week. not realizing you'd get on a jet and go to Georgia and then have to fly all the way to Colorado. So we didn't think you'd actually do it. But welcome aboard. Lovely to have you here as an official member of the order.
Yeah, I think you have a little bit of an echo. Oh, is it me? Is it you?
You didn't.
it
It
us?
kicked in after Kate joined, but I don't know who it is.
I'm going to just mute myself.
Is it me? It's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
I have my headphones in. How's that possible? That's so weird.
Oh, boy. Well. Is there an echo now? I still hear an echo. Joe, mute yourself. Is there an echo now? No, it's Joe. The new guy's causing a problem.
Kate, it might not be you.
There is a reduce noise background feature on the
This
thing.
guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's new. It's okay.
I do have
Dave-
the reduced noise background thing on too.
Dave in the chat said, "Cry me a river."
Well,
Right? What is your background?
Street Fighter.
he's a street fighting man. He
Fighting
also
in these streets.
so welcome everybody. It's the Mark Order podcast on a Wednesday night. We've got brand new member Asian Joe. We've got Kate. We've got Ryan. I'm AntMoney. And before we jump into all of the stuff, all of the drama, I don't want the drama.
No more drama. We don't want no drama.
Like Andy Bernard. How's everybody doing? Ryan, I saw you last week. How are you?
I'm good. You guys are lucky that I don't want us to get in copyright strike because I really wanted to play, speaking of Full House, the Ranger Joe song, but for Asian Joe.
No, we just do Samoa Joe chants at
Asian
him.
Joe. He's the Asianest guy I know. Asian Joe.
Wow,
I find
that's
this a little problematic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, probably. But I
not
didn't call
gonna
you that.
age
You called
well.
yourself that.
It's not going to age well, Ryan.
Eh.
Cancel Ryan.
We can cancel him. He is writing revisionist history blogs,
It's true. That's a good
He's-
point.
whitewashing the fuck out of history on his blog.
It's
If
true.
that's what you're into, please go check it out and help spread the word.
I have a strong market for that.
You do. It actually overlaps with wrestling alarmingly well.
See?
Kate, how are you? We missed out on you
I'm
last
so
week.
tired.
Okay.
I
Sleep-
went to, what did I do? I went to Philly with you guys,
Yep.
and then I stayed overnight, and I went to Multiverse, which was great. And then with you, and then I drove back home, and I almost quit my job, but then I didn't. And then I went to my parents, and then I went to Denver, and then I came back to Philly, and then I went to New York, and then I went to New Jersey. So it's been a very, very long 10 days, but I have survived. And all of it was good. It was all good stuff. It was just very chaotic and busy,
That's good.
and living the dream.
Don't quit your job because I can't hire yet.
I will not quit my job. But I did have my 1-year anniversary there yesterday. So thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I did not get a raise. Ergo.
I didn't either. How about that? And I've been there 6 years. What an economy. Well, good to hear you're still rocking and rolling, Kate. Joe, how are you after this past week? We didn't see you last week. We had the big announcement. People were going wild. Sounded a lot like this. So, how's everything going with you?
Going well. I was an adult today, and I bought a new washer and dryer set.
Ooh,
So I am-
separate or
Oh,
single?
they're matching. They're
Oh,
a matching set. I'm a
nice.
big boy. I get a. So I'm excited about that delivery coming next week. I was telling you before we started the show, it was a big day in Nebraska since we set a new world record in Nebraska for most people to attend a women's sporting event. So we care about women here.
So
You do
about
support
300
women.
people went.
92,003 people. So we're bigger than Wembley.
Bigger, way
Yeah.
bigger.
What was the event?
Volleyball.
Because
women's
they're
volleyball.
fucking hot. That's why.
Beach volleyball?
Regular court volleyball. They set up the court inside the Nebraska football stadium.
It's wild. Was it college?
Yes. Yep.
There you go. That'll do it.
Hot
That'll
college
do it.
babe.
Will do.
You can hide your misogyny and support when it's hot college babes. That's all I'm saying.
I'll tell you what, though. I bet a good portion of that was papered. That wasn't all paid attendance.
A North Korean dictator made them go, just like WCW.
It was over 81,000 people. Probably like 90.
That's very cool. Sincerely, that's awesome.
Now, Joe, you should write a press release and send it to Tony Khan and company and let them know that days after they shattered the live attendance record, a world attendance record, Nebraska did one better.
And just for women.
I thought there were like 17 people in all of Nebraska, so I'm very impressed by this.
I mean, it's like all of Nebraska and then double it. That's the 92,000.
That's fair.
Literally all of Nebraska went.
I will tell you that usually, like on game days for football, that stadium becomes about the third biggest city in Nebraska.
It's wild.
I believe it. I believe it.
Wow. Well, congratulations, Nebraska. You've done it. You've broken the record. I've been using I got to get a better crowd noise. I know Joe's got one.
It's just a little quiet today. That's all. Your soundboard's a little bit on the quiet side.
I had it turned down because I feel like sometimes when I have it up, I'm screaming over it.
It's true, but it's a ruckus applause, I tell you. Our friend, that guy, is watching because he's texting me and Ryan asking about whitewashing history and the whatnot. And I got to see him and his daughters on the in-between ski days in Philly.
Why doesn't that guy get in the YouTube chat? That guy, I don't know. That guy knows.
Because he's just that guy. He's just that guy.
But that guy knows who I know who that guy is, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That guy knows that you know that he knows that you know that he knows.
That he's that guy.
That he
Joe
knows.
doesn't know that guy. Yeah, he knows.
Oh, fuck all of you.
Ryan, I have a question for you, and it's Philly sports related, and then we'll get into real sports, professional wrestling. Did the Flyers release their schedule this year?
I haven't seen it yet, but I think they did, yeah.
I'd be interested in knowing how many national broadcasts your team has this year.
Probably not many. They're not good.
Mm.
If they have one at all.
I believe the Devils have 13 this season.
Hold on.
13. Just saying, right?
Oh my gosh. I hope we get to talk about figures later. This is good shit.
I don't have any. Okay. Let me tell you something. I haven't ordered any figures lately because no figures.
12.
12. All right. That's shocking. Are they
No,
all?
they're owned by Comcast.
Oh, well. So the reason I haven't ordered any figures is last week I went to pay my credit card and I was like, I don't recognize this charge. And it wasn't a lot. It was like $11. And it was for Seamless, like Express. It was for Seamless, whatever their membership is. I don't know what it's called because I don't have fucking Seamless. So I searched my statements and there were like 4 of these charges month over month. So I called the credit card up and I was like, yeah, I don't have a Seamless account. I don't know what this is. Like I've paid Seamless before at work so I could buy lunch for my people, but I've never subscribed to their service. And I haven't had a Seamless charge probably since June. And they were like, okay, well, we'll put it in as a thing, but we're going to cancel your card right now. I was like, so I have to pay my card. Did you cancel it? Because I don't want to get fucked here. And they were like, oh no, pay it first and then we'll cancel. I was like, thanks a lot. So I paid my payment. And then like 2 days later, I get a call from their fraud department and they're like, well, it's such a small amount. You're sure you don't have a Seamless? I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, I'm sure. And you canceled the card already. So what's the deal? Just send me a goddamn card, please. And they were like, well, you should have flagged this earlier. I'm like, and I literally said to them, do you think I look at my statements every month? because nobody looks at a paper statement anymore. Like, I think they think I take it out and balance like a checkbook. I never do that shit.
Well,
I have-
especially for like $11, that's just not like an alarming enough amount.
I
But
happen to
also, the way Chase does it, it's like they're giving them out like candy. They're like, we've already updated your card number in your app, and we'll send you one, and it'll arrive in 3 to 5 days or whatever.
no.
It's like boom, boom.
I have a different bank card because I've had it since I was in college. I don't want to cancel it because it's been my longest credit card. So and there's quite a balance left to it. But they gave me such a hassle, and then they were finally like, okay, well, this time we'll refund the charges. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. They were
Yeah,
like,
that's what you're gonna quibble over is like the $11 charge.
so that's why I couldn't order a fucking card figures, because I haven't had a card.
What is waiting out there for you? in the
There's a
world?
series that I missed from the last pay-per-view that they announced that I didn't pre-order, and there's a couple other. There's, I think, a Danhausen one that's out there,
Damn.
and a Sammy Guevara. There's a couple of them, and
Uh-huh.
then
Sammy Guevara.
Oh, okay. Now I know who you're talking about.
and then Matt and I missed out on the Jamie Hayter exclusive from All In Weekend, so I'm a little upset.
Oh, that's a bummer. When
also-
you said figures and errant charges, I was like, Matt stole your card to order a bunch of figures. That
No,
was
but
the only thing I could think of.
I don't know where a seamless charge came from on like a membership, because there's no reason for me in New Jersey to have a seamless account. Everything is
Yeah, no, that doesn't make
away.
sense.
So, Kate, there you go. There's all the figure talk you could probably get.
Yes.
So, do you guys want to talk about wrestling?
So
Not like there was a pay-per-view. Okay, we're gonna do this in a couple parts. Okay, we're gonna talk about the pay-per-view first, and then we're gonna talk about all of the other stuff around the pay-per-view, because it has to get talked about. We know who we're talking about.
yeah, we definitely have to talk about Sting getting played out by Metallica. Not
Bam.
live, but that's clearly what we were referring to.
You definitely know it. So, guys, I assume we all saw the pay-per-view.
Yes.
Okay, because if not, I was gonna say leave and come back in like 45 minutes to an hour, because we're gonna spoil everything. But obviously, All In, I'm gonna get that mixed up 3 or 4 times tonight.
Mhm.
All In happened Sunday in London, England, and
That's a terrible British accent. As good as your Philly one is, your British one was terrible.
it was supposed to be terrible. What was
Well, you
that from?
nailed it, mate.
Do you ever?
And that
Isn't it? I gotta take the. Oh
the
fuck!
tube,
I gotta take a tube, and I'm gonna get lost on the way.
lads.
Anyway, from London, England, Sunday, it was 81,000 plus people, setting a new record. And it was quite the show. 1 o'clock here in the East, which was quite a delight. Now, I don't know about you guys. I was supposed to be somewhere else on Sunday, but everybody in my house got sick for the week. And then we were stuck over the weekend, like taking care of stuff that should have been taken care of over the weekend. And I couldn't go to my other previous planned thing. So I watched the pay-per-view and then fell asleep. But it was so nice having a 1 o'clock pay-per-view. I never thought I'd say that. It was so nice having a mid-afternoon and being done.
I have to review this shit. Are you kidding? Being done by like 8 o'clock for a review? Oh
Oh,
my
you
god.
You reviewed it?
I came home, watched the pay-per-view, reviewed the pay-per-view, went to Shining Wizards Mats for the end of the barbecue,
There you
enjoyed
go.
myself. Good little Sunday. But yes, did the select review, which was great. But I love it. That happened when we did the Puerto Rico pay-per-view too. It was so nice to be done so early, especially with an AEW one, because they're so long. Like, this was delightful.
Well, it was delightful, and you definitely got your money's worth, because I thought it was a wonderful pay-per-view. I think they delivered on everything that they set up, and we'll run through the card, touch on some highlights, talk about some of the aftermath. Then we'll take a break and go on to Dynamite. So we'll hold on the Dynamite talk. Obviously there's no reason to talk about Rampage or Collision tonight. So if you're looking for those results, go find them somewhere else because we don't need to waste time on that.
No.
So, running down the card real quick. In the 0 hour, they led with MJF and Adam Cole, and they defeated Aussie Open to win the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships. I don't know about you guys. There was no way in my brain that was happening. I thought it was going to set up something for later, and instead they went the complete opposite way. I would love to know, because I saw a few people out there who we know. I saw like Kyle K. Sparks, I think, was ready to jump off the top of his house, or into Lake Michigan, somewhere over here on this coast somewhere. Not here, or here.
No, right? You're so close.
We've been working on it. Last week he was very close, but still not quite there with
No
his
cigar.
hand signals. So anyway, what did you guys like? I didn't know what to make about that, and I still kind of don't know what I think about this, but I don't know if I like it. So, you know what?
Hold on.
Wait.
We before we get to this, you missed probably the most important part of the 0-2 hours.
What?
Jeff Jarrett.
Well, I mean,
Jeff Jarrett came out and had just a showing. How can you not mention Kate's favorite wrestler?
9-minute women's match. My God. You had a 0-2 hours and you still had one women's match on the card. I honestly sincerely, if you're gonna have Jeff Jarrett on your card, like Jeff Jarrett and Grado is the spot to do that. Like I really don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with the lack of women on the card. The Jeff Jarrett and Grado spot was exactly what should be happening with Jeff Jarrett. He should not be wrestling on multiple anchor television shows for multiple, getting title shots. Him getting his ass smashed by Grado with the guitar. Perfect. Like, that's exactly what Jeff Jarrett should be doing. So I didn't even actually have a problem with that. As far as the tag titles go.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's stick to the matches that were advertised and then go on to everything else. I want to touch on everything else. Let's run through the card.
Bypass Jeff Jarrett. I get it.
Oh, story of my life, wanting to bypass Jeff Jarrett.
I love
the
Jeff
tag
Jarrett.
titles.
Kate, I was going to give the newest member the honors here and pass it to Joe for his take first.
I thought we already established he's the fucking young boy.
Well, I would like his take first so that we can all tell him how wrong he is.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
You think I'm going to be that wrong?
Idiot!
Fool.
No. I feel like I share a lot of the same sentiment as other people out there who do not want to see the tag team titles used as a prop in the storyline. And if they end up being transitioned onto the Kingdom, I'm here for it. But it feels like giving it to MJF and Adam Cole when they didn't really necessarily need them as part of their story. It just seems like a weird transition to use them as part of the storyline. So, not a big fan of it, but kudos to the booking for throwing a curveball at all of us who didn't see it coming.
Okay, Kate, do you want to agree or disagree with the young boy?
Well, I want to disagree with him because of him being a young boy.
Okay.
Go get me some ice packs. Carry my bags to the car. Okay. Also, Ant, do you have a breaking news sound effect on the board?
I think Joe does.
You do, right? I was gonna say I thought we had one.
I don't. Joe does
Somewhere, yes.
I'm sorry.
Damn
We're
it.
putting.
This
him
is
on
why he's a young boy. This is why.
He's getting his feet wet.
I like. Yeah, play it real quick, and I'll tell you what the match that just got set up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have breaking news with Kate on the ground.
Hi, I'm standing here. I'm sitting in my chair right in my living room, and I'm reading Tony Khan's tweet.
Oh,
I am hearing. Yes, it's been confirmed that this Sunday, September 3rd, at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois, at All Out, live on pay-per-view, we will be getting your New Japan Strong Open champion, Eddie Kingston, and your Ring of Honor Pure champion, Shibata, versus Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. That match just made. It is confirmed.
okay.
We'll see that on Sunday. As far as the tag match goes, I like what it did in the night. I like how I was waiting to do the math of, okay, who's turning on who based on what happened in this match, and we didn't get that, right? They're brochachos at the end of the day. Everybody's standing tall. I, as someone that watches the Ring of Honor product, as someone that covers the Ring of Honor product, this sucks. Like, we consistently keep getting... I think it's the transition from Reach for the Sky Boy ladder match, Honor the Briscoes, huge deal, to brothers tag team that literally never defended them on ROH television, to Aussie Open, who seemed like a good move because they were defending them a little bit, but weren't ROH talent, to now being used as a prop again. And this storyline is really frustrating to go from, like, this is supposed to be honoring the passing of Jay Briscoe to the point where it's like they're just not even around on Ring of Honor television. And now the team that felt like the Ring of Honor tag team champions, it was the Kingdom, and now they're doing an AEW angle. So it's kind of sucks how gummed up this got. But I like what it did in the night, and it is cool to be able to say, like, the Ring of Honor tag titles switched hands in front of 81,000 people. It's just like a wild thing to be able to say. This is a promotion that was built in gyms and small venues, and the biggest place they were working was like Hammerstein. Like, that part of it's all really cool. But it kind of is starting to feel like, and I love the angle. Like, I love what's going on with MJF and Adam Cole, but it's starting to feel like the Bloodline a little bit. Like, it's taking up all this room. It's running multiple segments. It's now like cannibalizing other titles that don't really belong in the picture. So I don't love that about it. But I do love what Adam Cole and MJF and the story they're telling. And I liked what that title change did for not letting me in on who was going over in the main event, because I was looking for that math.
Okay. So, Schlong, what are your thoughts?
First, I should have just signed off after I got the amp pop for tonight. That's so rare for me. I should have just ended my night.
I love a good radio callback.
Well, but I distinctly remember texting Kate after the match saying, "Don't like that outcome," because I don't, for the same reasons, all the reasons mentioned. And it just means further that we're not splitting the ROH roster apart, and we all really, 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 really want that. And it's getting very annoying. And then the Kingdom, who should have been the tag champs all along, are now in feel like they have a solid AEW storyline and footing. And now I don't want them to have it. Like, it's just, the whole thing is confusing.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I see, like, I don't love it. I see how it makes sense in the story of Adam Cole to have the Ring of Honor belt because he'd never held, he never held the title in Ring of Honor. So I guess it makes sense from that standpoint. His name is now stamped in the book. He held the Ring of Honor Tag Team Championship. Beyond that, I don't understand why. Unless you're trying to do something and get these belts off of Aussie Open to now bring Aussie Open over to AEW. Are we trying the hand symbols, Ryan? Hand symbols, Ryan?
Not.
So, no, you're further than you were last week.
This is a step backwards.
Aussie. Oi.
It's not.
Okay. So I mean, I don't know what they're trying to do here. I have some thoughts on some other Ring of Honor stuff as we get into Dynamite that I'll hold on to. But as far as this goes, I just don't understand. Like I said, unless the idea is to take Aussie Open over to AEW and do something in AEW and not Ring of Honor, then I don't understand why we did this so quick too. And they don't need to be on MJF and Adam Cole. If MJF was a heel and he was insufferable saying how he's got 2 belts and he's going to be a belt collector and all that kind of stuff, and he's never going to wrestle for the belts and stuff like that, like I think it would be fun, but that's not him right now. Like he's not that guy. So I don't understand it. I do like Kate, I do like what it sort of set up for later. Although I thought them losing this match would have set up for something greater, but it made sense as we got to the end. So I guess we'll talk about it. It was just a head scratcher in that moment. I couldn't believe it happened. Moving on. And we are only talking about the matches here, folks. Hook defeated Jack Perry in an anything goes or whatever unsanctioned no holds barred match to win back the FTW title. Jack Perry was supposed to retire that title last week and it never happened. So he had to defend it and he lost it to Hook. Cool to me that Hook got to wrestle in Wembley, but I don't understand. I don't like this belt. It doesn't make sense. I don't think anybody needs another fucking belt. I don't know if anybody wants to say anything about this match.
Hope he retires the belt now. I hope now that he has it back, he can move on past it and, go for a real belt. So
I don't get this really at all. It's cool that we have Hook holding the belt, but if it was a device to cement a Jack Perry heel turn, I don't think it's worked. Like, I don't think Jack Perry is the disaster that some people like to pretend he is on the mic. Like, I don't think he's that bad. I just don't think he's tapped into who he is as a heel yet. And that's fine. That takes time, especially with young talent who are not like, his promos are not going to be his greatest strength probably ever. That's fine. But like, it feels like they took the belts off him before he could even kind of settle in a little bit, which is weird. So I just don't think it was successful, and it might have been if they gave it a little bit more time to burn. I also feel like this was not the place to do this match. I feel like doing it at All Out is actually kind of like the perfect thing, because this has had a build and not a lot else at All Out is going to have a build. And I don't feel like, yes, obviously, like a women's match would have been dicier, right? But also, because it's an unrecognized belt, it kind of doesn't belong on the most prestigious show that they've ever done. Like it feels like something that is more in that, like, we're on a field trip Rampage vibe. Like, for the same reason that like Harley Cameron wasn't on. You know what I mean? Like it feels a little bit more playful than this pay-per-view is. Now it's a pre-show match, so whatever, but just feels like something with more time on a real pay-per-view that isn't this one would have made more sense. You know what else I would have rather seen? Zack Sabre Jr. fighting someone. That would have been better than this. They didn't have to go so far away from, like, I get that they didn't want to make it like an all-Brit card, but only Will Ospreay, and I guess Grado, felt weird. Like, there's a lot of...
Kip Sabian on the pre-show?
Couldn't do Kip Sabian, couldn't do Anthony Ogogo. Like, I know we haven't seen Anthony Ogogo.
Oh, he was out there.
Well, and Kip Sabian did that stuff. Like, did commentary.
But Kip Sabian did get to be in the ring.
Yeah. I mean, that's my point about Ogogo, too. Like, I don't know where he's...
Ring.
He didn't have a match.
Well, I mean, I'll say this. The only thing I could think is that they wanted to take some of the talent who they said were pillars, right? So it's like Jack Perry is supposed to have been one of the pillars, the next guys in this company. So how are we going to leave him off Wembley? So this is what you have, right? This is what they've lined up for him. This is what you have. Does that mean it's good? No, but I mean, I'm with you, Kate. I don't understand why this had to be done here. It definitely could have been done at All Out, but like, if you were going to slide another women's match in, you're not going to put Chris Statlander here because you're going to put Chris Statlander on All Out and have that be your big women's match at All Out. Like, fine, but find a different ladies match to put in here.
Athena.
Yeah.
Like, is right there. Willow isn't wrestling on this card. I feel like you could have run a Chris and Ruby angle here. You've only built that out for 1 weekend tonight, right? Like, you could have done something. Very, 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 very frustrating. Very, very, very frustrating to feel like we're getting all this progress in the women's division and then steps back. So that's annoying. But yeah, I don't know. The FTW belt. And I'm also I sound like an old curmudgeon. Like, I'm kind of over the pillar shit. Like, I feel like they did a really, really long build into the 4 pillars match, and I feel like only MJF and Darby came out of it for any of the better. And
Schlong?
I feel like, yeah,
Sorry.
Schlong is holding his head.
He looks perplexed. What's up, Schlong?
Joe, can we get the breaking news music again?
Oh boy. Hold on, Schlong.
All right, I have to always scroll through my.
We're gonna move on. Oh, I have that too.
Wrong one. Anyhow, go ahead, Schlong.
This Saturday, Ricky Starks will challenge Ricky the Dragon Steamboat to a strap match to occur at All Out.
Sweet. Well, we'll talk about that because that I think is directly tied to other events. But
100%, but not the.
That's not who he's gonna end up fighting, right? I mean,
I
that
hope
can't be.
not, but that is such a weird.
it's probably gonna be. We'll talk about it. Schlong, anything you want to add about Hook and Jack Perry before we keep moving on?
Was the glass real in the car?
Oh, it was real.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
It was real. Moving on to the main card. Our opener was CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. And CM Punk wound up winning that match. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about CM Punk extensively after we get through this card. So I want to just keep it to the match. Schlong, I'm going to go with you first. Oh,
so, no, I'm still sorry. Of all the things I expected to see tonight, that wasn't top 20. And
Focus. Samoa Joe and CM Punk.
Relax. Just because you love Joe so much and he did his patented walkaway spot in front of 81,000 people doesn't mean you got to get mean. Match was really good. Joe was on something. We might speculate as to reasons why. Yeah, we might speculate as to reasons why, but he was great. He put on a hell of a show, and Punk did too. I don't want to take away from him, but Joe really showed out in this match, and it was a great opener. It was actually probably the perfect opener for the card. It set a good tone for the night or day from our point of view.
Kate, how about you? You just said it. You love both these guys. What did you think? Did it live up?
I actually really did love this, and knowing the circumstances that came before, which we won't talk about now, but like actually kind of blows my mind because I feel like you would never have known it. Like it was the perfect opener because it was what it was, and it also kind of furthered the legacy of like Punk got a win that wasn't with a flash pin, which I think is nice because it's always been flash pins from Punk to defeat Samoa Joe. It was kind of a nice completion to that whole legacy that they built out. And it's very cool that they got to do that in front of 81,000 people at Wembley. Like that's insane when you consider like where that actually started. So that feels like a better use of an ROH title being at Wembley. Loved the match. It was a little bit more of a Samoa Joe showcase, which it felt designed to be. But Joe is just, God, every time I see him, I'm like, this guy's obviously like not in his prime, But if there's anybody who adjusted to work past their prime better, like show me them. This guy is unbelievable. And I feel like there's so few times in modern wrestling where we get big guys who just show you what a monster they are and don't tell you with like graphics and smoke and flexing and whatever. He like just comes out there to hurt you and beat your ass, and he just like has this very cold and menacing smirk while doing it. Like there are no other big men like Joe, and I love that he's getting settled into this run, because he came over and it was kind of spotty, and then he was doing Sweet Tooth and whatever. Like feels like he's really at a maximum value adding stage of what he's doing, and I just like there's no other like big guy like him, and I just appreciate it so much. This was so much fun. He's so intimidating and so likable. Like I don't know how you pull that double-edged sword off, and this match was like the perfect example of that. I loved it.
Asian Joe, what was your take on Samoa Joe?
Well, first of all, I'm going to take everything Kate said and use it as a video testimonial if I ever need to create like a online dating profile.
Also, when I say Samoa, I think Samoa is in Asia. So that is a huge
Close
part
enough.
of it. And there you go.
But no, the match was great, even more so knowing all the stuff that happened prior to the match. I left wanting more, actually. Like I know we're kind of bookend their saga, but like the way the finish happened at the end, where all of a sudden here's the Pepsi plunge, I was waiting for more to happen after that. So I would like to see it happen again. Will it happen? Probably, who knows? But I enjoyed that part, and Punk doing his little like 4 out of the 5 moves of doom of Cena's, and the Hogan leg drop, and all those little things pandering to the crowd. That's just it's classic Punk.
The 5-knuckle shuffle got me. I loved that.
And still as divisive overseas as he is here in the United States. So wild. Next up was Bullet Club Golden Takeshita versus the Golden Elite. And the Bullet Club Golden Takeshita come out with a win with a schoolboy on Kenny Omega. Some quick thinking towards the end. Takeshita was legal. I don't think Kenny realized it, and they come away with the win here. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. In the moment, I actually was like, was that supposed to happen? It seemed so quick. Like maybe somebody didn't kick out on, like maybe Kenny didn't kick out quick enough, and it was like he counted 3. Like that's the match. It's over. Like, but I see how it sort of made sense in what they're trying to do with the story. I didn't hate it. I thought this match was just fine. Unfortunately, to me, Ibushi still looks a little behind, which is sort of upsetting because he's so good. Like we've seen what he can do. But the past few times we've seen him in an AEW ring, he hasn't looked all there. So just disappointing, but I thought the match was good overall. Takeshita is a fucking madman. Kate, what'd you think here?
I agree with everything you said. I really loved the finish because it set up what we're going to be getting at All Out perfectly. This card felt very front loaded, like going from Punk and Joe to this to the tag match to Stadium Stampede. I was like, this is way too much on the front end. Felt like they probably should have put Jericho and Ospreay mixed in there somewhere, or the coffin match maybe mixed in somewhere in there instead. But this match I thought was fantastic. Takeshita is just unbelievable. Like I'm so impressed by him, and I don't know how it keeps surprising me because he's not doing anything new. It's just like incredible every time he's in there and does something. Like he's really, really good. And he's also very good at walking the line of being an incredible presence in a match, but not too overpowering in a multi-man match, which not everybody strikes the balance of. Like you can kind of plug into any context and he's going to make the match work. Also just laughed out loud when the camera caught Adam Page go, "What the fuck?" That was really, really fun. But
It
I
was
loved this. This was great, as you would expect from the caliber of wrestlers who were in it. And I thought the finish was actually a whole bunch of fun. I really liked this.
Joe, what do you think here?
Joe.
Not a lot more to add. I actually thought Ibushi was a little bit better than he was in Blood and Guts, at least.
That is true. He was
at least
better.
initially. Yeah.
Yes.
Other than that, yeah, I thought a solid match. I felt like I left the match thinking it was really hard hitting with the strikes, knowing who's all involved. So with a strong style. So yeah, nothing more to add besides that.
Schlong, anything to add here?
It was an enjoyable Dynamite match.
All right. Wow. Schlong coming in being the opposite, being a little negative here.
He's always so negative.
You're right, he is.
He's such a downer all the time.
We move on to the tag team championship match, FTR versus the Young Bucks. FTR does win by pinfall with the Shatter Machine on Nick Jackson to retain the tag team championships. And I thought this honestly was slated to go a whole bunch of different ways as this match went on. I loved the way, they had Cash down for the pin, and Dax came to make the save, and Nick Jackson pulled Cash up, and Dax kind of was like, "What the? Oh, I'm caught!" Like he knew he was caught. I thought that was so fantastic. I thought this match was really well done for a bunch of guys who maybe don't always see eye to eye or who weren't on the best of terms for a little bit. I thought this was highly enjoyable, and no respect after the match from the Bucks. So clearly, there's more to be done here. But we'll talk about.
Respect.
Hey, take my wife. I get no respect. What's the deal with airplane food? Hey, no respect. Schlong, anything you'd like to say about this match?
It's weird because it was a really, really, really good match. I was expecting tag match of the year contender, and it wasn't that. So I think what was that?
You're just so negative all the time.
I was saying I was expecting tag match of the year candidate, and it wasn't that. So it took me like a second to be like, that was just my ridiculously high expectations. They still delivered an excellent match. I was very excited, and it could have won either way. There was times I thought the Bucks were winning, so it was excellent. I just had to be like, yeah, not everything they do will go down as like the greatest of all time.
Kate's shaking her head no, so I'd like to go see what Kate thinks next.
I actually think a big part of that is why the fuck was this on third? Like, this should have felt like a huge deal. This should have felt like co-main event level stuff. I really think that card placement suffered. This suffered with that a little bit. I gotta say, just overall too, I loved the entrances. The Bucks and FTR had a really fun one. Bullet Club Gold had a really fun one with the camera like in the thing, but I loved that they're almost in that like elevator box thing and then come out. I thought that was such a blast. I was with my sister for part of this match, and she loves the Young Bucks. She couldn't handle the Freddie Mercury fashion. And it's so fun to watch it with someone who doesn't watch for like those reasons. And I kind of got to explain to her some things. But these two are just two of the best to ever do it. I love trading finishers at the end. I always think that's such a fun storytelling device. And to do it in the way that they're evenly matched and had each other scouted is really, really strong stuff. Cash Wheeler's suicide dive always looks like you're not supposed to actually try and kill yourself, man. Holy crap. He really heaves his whole body to the outside of the ring. Also, props to the person with the fear the revolver sign, because that made me laugh very hard. I loved this. This should have gone on later, and I feel like that kind of gusto that Ryan felt like was missing, I actually think would have kind of been there. Like, I really think going on third was a bad choice with this.
I'm waiting for somebody on commentary to say something like, look at Cash flashing the chrome. You know what I mean? Like, just do something. Joe, what's your thought here?
Well, he does have to face the elite and the Bullet Club Gold and the Gun Club now, so that'll be interesting for that commentary. I'm kind of what Kay said. I liked how they showed how well the team knew each other throughout the match with a lot of the callbacks between the previous matchups. I think I'm not knowing who was going to win going into the match. I think it was the second BTE trigger that I think they delivered it. That sold me a ticket on thinking they were going to win. But yeah, and then the cosplay with the Bucks. I blame the shoes for them losing because they wore. I get they're wearing the Adidas for Freddie Mercury, but like not having like Jordans
Air
on their feet.
Jordans.
It's just weird. It's just they're wearing wrestling boots and it's just weird.
Well, they've lost shoes though. They've lost those Air Jordans from time to time, so maybe they were trying to switch it up.
I mean, they could have gone to a store in the UK and found some kicks.
It's true.
Anyway, moving on, we go to Stadium Stampede, the best friends, Eddie Kingston and Penta versus the Blackpool Combat Club and Proud and Powerful. During this match, Penta goes down. He does resurface later as Penta Obscura, which I guess nobody fucking saw coming because nobody knew who that was coming out of the tunnel. I didn't either. And it is also nice, Ryan and Kate, to see that they had the same ladder issue, just what we called out at New Japan. Not supposed to climb up the backside of those ladders. And that could have been
Ooh.
bad. But they recovered. We saw everything you could want to hear. Barbed wire, pipes, wood wrapped in barbed wire, chairs wrapped in barbed wire, tacks. We also saw the skewers. I don't remember them doing a skewer spot. I hate the skewer spot. It looks ridiculous, and I can't believe anybody would willingly do that. And perhaps my favorite one of the night was Orange Cassidy going all out, wrapping his fist with the tape upside down, breaking the bottle, dipping in glass, and then getting the win by hitting that glass-coated orange punch on Claudio Castagnoli. So the faces win. Post-match, they showed Kingston and Moxley were bloodied and battered, laying next to each other, flipping each other off. So that's clearly not over. And I was quite happy that my 6-year-old decided to take a nap during this match because he would not have been able to see this. So I didn't necessarily have a problem with this. Stadium Stampede is always like a car crash, people going all over the place. I thought they did a pretty good job with it. I didn't mind it. It was what it was. I'm going to go to Joe first.
First of all, I want to know if we can all get matching pea coats like the BCC. So
Those are cool as hell.
Looks like we walked off the set of Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. Like, I thought that was a nice touch for being in England. But yeah, it's everything I expected from the two teams in the Stampede, and I'm always impressed by producing a match like this, and especially in a stadium that big, and trying to lay everything out. And yeah, that's impressed me the most. I think just trying to figure out the layout of the match. But otherwise, yeah, I guess I didn't think the faces were going to win. But knowing how what's coming up ahead, it makes sense for them to take the win now and have the BCC and others come back strong at All Out and going forward.
Should also mention we saw Sue. Thank you on LT Photo in the chat. I forgot Sue came in a new van.
And her
Fresh with
cookies.
cookies. Yeah.
She,
Yes, Kate.
alongside Shinsuke Nakamura, founding members of Chaos.
True. Kate, what'd you think here?
This was a whole bunch of fun. You guys know I'm an Eddie Mark. Like, Eddie Kingston in this environment is just a blast. Like, I feel like because of the style of match it is, and it's a little bit slowed down, like, he just is always at his best because he's just at an 11 the entire time. Loved the ending spot with the middle fingers. Gotta say, like, Blackpool Combat Club, you got to get some big wins now because they've taken a couple of these losses, right? So time to get them back on top. I do think maybe Claudio is going to lose the ROH title to Eddie Kingston. I very selfishly hope they do that at Grand Slam. So like Eddie jumping him before the bell even rang was really, really fun here. My only complaint about it, and it's the most minor of complaints, is this was anarchy in the arena and the stadium. Like the stadium stampedes have been different from this. So my expectations were, I'd expect it to be full on silly like the first one, but the second one kind of had that we used the entire stadium feel. Like it wasn't so violent. It was more about exploring the space of the stadium, which is why initially I was like, oh, maybe this is where Nigel McGuinness pops up or whatever. So that's my only complaint is it does start to feel a little bit redundant when you have like anarchy in the arena, blood and guts, the parking lot brawl in this. Like, I'm not one of those John Moxley shouldn't bleed people, but there should be some times where he doesn't. Just like on occasion, he should not. So that's my only thing is these all kind of start to feel a little bit the same after a while. But a whole bunch of fun. Loved seeing Eddie. Proud and Powerful being back is just a great shot in the arm for the roster. Good stuff. Good stuff here. But again, with the pacing, like very weird that you put all this back to back in this first hour, especially when we'll talk about it later. But none of these guys like each other. Why did you have all of them walk by each other in the hallway? That was a bad idea. But even if they were grown-ups, this feels very, very front-loaded. Very front-loaded.
Kate, no, I thought maybe we'd get a comment. No disappointment with no gas can Eddie.
I've just kind of accepted that gas can Eddie is a moment in time. Like I don't think you can recapture the dream in the same way because he wasn't just gas can Eddie. He was zombie gasoline wielding, going to light Chris Jericho on fire. Eddie. So I've just accepted that, you can't always go back to the good old days.
I'm waiting for the day they just walk down the aisle with like dragging an axe behind him, just with slow like an axe murderer, just slowly dragging it behind him on the ground. I want
He's
that.
the
Eddie.
best. He's the best.
Gosh, Ryan, Stadium Stampede. Any thoughts?
It was a lot of fun, and I like fun. I know there is some production assistant or someone in the back who was freaking out when his ladder was stolen because that was not intended for show use. Sue is great. Managed to get herself a car and get there. Excalibur wondering if she had a license in England. Not needed. If you have a US driver's license, you can drive in England for a year.
Was she driving on the right side of the road,
Well, she was driving in a stadium. Clearly, she made a bad turn somewhere.
That's a good point.
Albuquerque.
Yeah.
The wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, that's impressive. I was shocked by the outcome. I really did not think that the Best Friends team would win. They've been taking loss after loss after loss. But I really enjoyed it. I mean, you guys kind of covered all the good points. Just that it was a fun match. This was kind of needed in this card with a lot going on to have just a match where like, oh, this is insane. It made things feel good.
Well, we move on from the Stadium Stampede to the AEW Women's World Championship 4-way. Dr. Britt Baker versus Sheeta versus Saraya versus Toni Storm. Saraya coming out to Queen, We Will Rock You. That could not have been cheap. They also didn't play it post-match. Well, I guess I just gave it away. Saraya wins the championship in London, which was a nice feel-good moment. Saraya, they did not play We Will Rock You afterwards, so probably was
like we are the champions. I mean, come on.
Oh God, how much money that would have cost. It was cool too for Saraya to come out with her entire wrestling family. Just a cool moment it had to be for them. Also her mom getting involved in a little bit in the match. Toni Storm also came out to God Save the Queen. Don't know if that costs any money, but also a nice touch. Things did break down versus Saraya and Toni Storm during the match like we thought it would. Ruby Soho came out to try to settle things down. Did not work either. So things don't look like they're so friendly now with the Outcasts. We'll see what happens there. But Saraya comes out with the win to win the championship. I'm pretty sure I said it, and a lot of other people thought the same thing. You can't put Saraya in this match and not have her win in the UK. So it went down the way I thought. I don't have a problem with it, but she needs to now wrestle, and sort of defend that belt. We can't just have her not wrestle. So that's my only problem here. There are a lot of stories, though, going on with the Outcasts, with Britt Baker and Sheeta, who were aligned and now maybe not aligned. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more here coming on tonight. I'm going to go to Ryan first and see what you thought about this, Ryan.
I'm going to dedicate as much time and thought to this match as they did. It was a match.
Okay. Going to go to Joe second.
I appreciate Toni Storm, and I thought she carried a lot of match as far as storytelling. And that's
Okay. I feel like we're all ceding our time here to Kate, who was holding her face as everybody was talking. So, Kate, take it away.
Saraya. Okay, first of all, it was a 14-minute time window with 9 minutes of in-ring. Queen is like pretty famously linked to Emi Sakura for all of the Freddie Mercury stuff that she's doing, and people were already like, that girl should be on the card. So that was fucking dumb for starters. Saraya has no connection to We Will Rock You. This was clearly just to cockblock Roddy Radke from playing because he's a transphobic piece of shit. All right, so for starters, it's ridiculous that in 6 hours of wrestling, 4 women got 9 minutes in the ring. That's just trash. There's no defense of it. I don't want to hear, well, Chris is going to be on this next. I don't give a fuck. Will Ospreay wrestled the day before and came out and did 2 Stormbreakers to Chris Jericho. I don't want to fucking hear about this. I don't want to hear about pacing of the show. I don't want to hear about we had to get the stars on when your women's stars are sitting at home. You got Willow at home. You got Athena at home. This is just a fucking trash excuse for representation on the show. And that's just the representation aspect of it. The match itself, what the fuck was this? Why is she pinning Toni Storm, who had the title 3 weeks ago? What the fuck was the point of the Sheeta title reign if she was going to pin Toni Storm anyway? What is this? Just have her pin Toni Storm for the fucking title, and then the Outcasts falling apart makes way more sense. It's about the title. Starlet Toni Storm falling apart because she lost her title to her friend is even more fun than this is. This is absolute fucking horseshit. This is so poorly executed. And not for nothing, I don't know how many times you're going to screw over Sheeta in the process, but Saraya has wrestled 3 times this year, okay? In the words of Matt Bowman, her neck is like made out of graham crackers at this point, and she has endometriosis. They paid a lot of money for this woman. If she could wrestle, she would be wrestling more. She can't go right now. This is a fucking stupid Vince McMahon-esque booking decision to give her a moment. And the only way to properly pay it off is to have her turn around and lose it immediately at All Out. And so far, the women's championship is not being defended at All Out. And if it's not put on the card on Rampage, if it's not put on the card on Collision, it'll just be even more horseshit. On top of horseshit, on top of horseshit. We were moving in such a good direction. There were stakes across all programs to get to this. The tournament was weird. I don't know why Toni Storm got a bye, but at least things were making sense. I don't know why the fuck you do this to Sheeta. It's horseshit. It's so stupid. It is back to the lack of care that we always see. And it's so frustrating when they put their foot on the gas and then pull it back. It's more frustrating than when they just don't care at all, because they make me feel like I should be getting invested, that all my ranting is going to lead somewhere, and then they just pull the rug out from under it. But to have her pin Toni Storm, who had the title 3 weeks ago, is so dumb. So dumb. So infuriating. The fact that this is the only match on the card also makes it worse, because like you can book for a moment if you have other shit on the show. Saraya probably should win there. You have no other stories for women on the show. Awful. Just awful. 3 matches this year for Saraya. And not for nothing, Rampage matches can be edited. So we don't even actually know what she like looks like and can do. This was so dumb. Every time it feels like there's a plan in place, it feels like the South Park manatees with idea balls come in, and that's who's booking the shit. It's just inexplicable how little care this division gets when all the other stuff clearly does. And God, just fuck over Sheeta more.
Can I play devil's advocate on 2 points?
You can play devil's advocate on whatever points you want.
You said the women's title is not being defended at All Out. Neither is the men's.
As of yet.
Neither is the men's championship.
Right, but there's a ton of other men's matches on the card.
No, but if it's meant to feel like an important show and to have important matches, you would want essentially both of your championships to be defended.
Right, but like there aren't women's tag titles, there aren't women's trios titles, right? So there's not a women's international title.
There's the TBS.
You had a new champion.
No, listen.
New champion.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but
I'm
just saying MJF's not defending.
That's also fucking stupid.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying I'm playing devil's advocate here. So if he doesn't have to work, she doesn't have to work. But I think they both should have to work. We will get the TBS championship at All Out. So
yeah, but it's like if MJF has a week off, that makes more sense because there's plenty of other men on the show. Like when you undercut, you're already going out of your way to make nothing feel important. And then to take the only important thing and not have it on the show is horseshit.
My other thing I think I'd like to play devil's advocate on. I forgot. I can't remember.
You wanted to defend Ronnie Radke. Is that what it was?
No, not at all. That band's awful anyway. I was so distracted at looking at Ryan that I forgot what I was going to play devil's advocate on.
We haven't had a good Kate rant in a long time, and
because things were making sense, and then they took that away.
And while the reason for the rant sucks and all that sucks, the rant itself still touches my heart. It still makes me feel good.
I don't know. I'm going to say that the rant felt a little forced to me. I'm going to say it was a mid rant.
Well, you wouldn't know when women are forcing it.
Okay.
Sounds like you're not supporting women, Ant.
Oh, really?
That's what it sounds like.
Are you saying that she did the rant for a moment?
Yeah, I feel like that was just for a moment.
You think that it was just... I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of builds to that, actually. I feel like that built for a really long time. 4 years, even.
I mean, she couldn't lose. She could not lose. I don't mind that she pinned Tony Storm.
And you have a group that's breaking up.
And
it's the
also,
perfect spot.
Yeah.
Better Than You, baby, are defending the titles at All Out. So MJF is at least wrestling.
I don't give a fuck. It's not the world championship. Those
belts world champion is wrestling.
No, I don't care. He's not wrestling for the belt that matters. No.
But you're not even having her on at all.
How do we know that yet?
Well, as of right now, she's not on at all.
They are definitely not going to have a men's championship match. They're not.
But their men's champion at least is there in wrestling.
But it's not the belt. Like, to me, I'm not even we're gonna talk about All Out later, but All Out doesn't feel like an important pay-per-view to me. Your championship, your men's championship, and your women's championship are not being defended. Why do I care?
No, it is the least pay-per-view ever.
I think, though, the only thing I would say is maybe this was devil's advocate point, Kate. She pinned Tony Storm. I don't have a problem with that because of where it leads to with the storyline, right? Of the thing breaking up. And that's inherently a four-way. The champion doesn't have to be pinned. And the champion was locked up with Britt Baker, who thought she had it locked in for a win. And she didn't. So
I don't have a problem with her winning the title. Or I don't have a problem with her winning Tony Storm. What am I saying? I don't have a problem with her pinning Tony Storm. I have a problem with her pinning Tony Storm when you could have just had her pin her for the title because Tony Storm had the title 3 weeks ago. I'm saying that the planning going into it is I am all for the Outcast breaking up. This is overstated. It's welcome like it's a Jericho stable. I am fine with that part of it. And I love this version of Toni Storm. We'll talk about that later. But like, I don't understand if she's just going to pin Toni Storm anyway, why you don't do that for the title. It's the highest stake that you could have, and she was your champion up until 3 weeks ago. It makes no sense.
But I also think there's more that's going to happen here with Britt Baker and Sheeta, and we're going to talk about that when we get to Dynamite. But I think that this is also going to be a catalyst for something with them, and maybe a turn somewhere with one of them. But either way, I'm not going to argue your main points, Kate. I don't disagree. The match was too short. The Emi Sakura thing with the Queen, like I thought that Saraya used Queen in her parents' promotion.
Oh, did she? I didn't know that.
I thought. I could be wrong. Somebody will fact check us and tell me I'm an idiot. But
it's cool that they shelled out for a big moment. Like, it's good that they did that, realistically. I just feel like it was funny. Like, there was this groundswell of like, Emi Sakura should be on the card. And then obviously they paid for those rights a long time ago.
My guess is if Jamie Hayter was on this card, she would have gotten Queen or, something.
Something. Yeah, for sure.
Anyway, moving on. We had Christian Cage and Shane Swerve Strickland versus Darby Allin and Sting in a coffin match. Talk about shelling out money for music rights. Sting and Darby Allin come out to Seek and Destroy by Metallica. They also win this match, so they end the match with Seek and Destroy. So they definitely paid for that one. Again, I didn't necessarily have a problem with this match. It's a coffin match, like you know what you're getting. I liked the bat spot where they threw the bat in the coffin and Sting used it to block them from closing it. Also loved when Christian was in there and stuck his leg out and his hands out. Same thing with Swerve. Like, it just looks painful to have this coffin being closed on your fingers. We see Luchasaurus, we see Nick Wayne. Ultimately, the faces win. I didn't have a problem with this because Sting is also a great no-selling son of a bitch. And a man in his 60s doesn't need to try to go through a table, fail, and then do it again and go through it. Just a fucking madman, Sting. But the people of the UK deserve to see Sting, Joker Sting at that. So I did not have a problem with it. I thought it was just a fun match. Joe, let's go with you. Any thoughts here?
This might have been one of my least favorite matches on the card, just because it felt like I've seen it before, like you mentioned. A lot of Darby's coffin matches all feel the same. You do crazy spots. He ends up winning because he's never going to lose a coffin match. I don't know where we stand on Swerve's hair sticking out of the coffin. If we can make an argument that he didn't lose. If you can put a hand out, if you can put a bat out, why can't you put your hair out there? So
it is funny, when they did cut back to the ring, his hair was not hanging out of that casket anymore.
I feel like he's not the kind of heel that would use that either. Like, because he's not chicken shit. But there is an opportunity to do that if you wanted. This match was a lot of fun. A coffin drop onto the coffin looks like just ouch. I was laughing to myself because at Forbidden Door, Sting, that match was rough. And he said after, he was like, man, like, I might not be doing these spots anymore. And then I watched him out there. It was like, you were either working or you have forgotten what you had said at Forbidden Door. Because that was not good at Forbidden Door, what they did. And he was just like, I don't know anymore. And then he's out there doing this. This was a ton of fun. I'm happy for someone like Swerve to have gotten to fight Sting in front of 80,000 people. Like, that's just cool. That's just a cool moment. These Maniac matches always end up on the card somewhere. Probably could have used it a little earlier. I feel like break up some of that sequencing, but I'm with Joe in that, like, this is one of my less liked matches on the card, but it's just the depth of the card. Like, it has nothing to do with this being a bad match for me in any way. It's just that, like we had Jericho and Osprey. You know what I mean? Like, this is nuts. So, lower part of the card for me, but strictly because of the depth. It was so good.
And it had all the spots you could have wanted. The Darby's hand tied behind his back stuff was ridiculous as well. Also, fantastic work out of Christian, just continuing. We don't see a lot of Christian, but when we do, it's gold. He's just been doing great. The turtleneck with the cutoffs, just fantastic. Ryan, anything you'd like to add?
Feels like Joe and Kate are hating on Sting, and I don't like that.
No, Sting's from Nebraska. I don't hate on him.
It feels like you're hating on him, and I don't like what I'm seeing there.
Hate on him.
Oh, my least favorite card on the least favorite match on the card.
Well, now
I
you're
said
positive
lower.
Ryan
I
again.
said lower.
Seems like you're hating on Sting, and I don't really appreciate that. The man is a legend, deserves your respect. Takes some wild bumps for you. I don't like the feeling that you guys are saying that this was not your favorite match. It wasn't my favorite match either, but that's beside the point.
You cranky little bitch.
Can I interject with, as we're discussing the card here, Kate and Joe, I feel like Ryan's trying to assert his dominance a little bit now since he's no longer the low man on the totem pole.
What are you going to do? Hump my leg?
You could only be so lucky, Joe. Okay.
I don't know.
We're gonna send Ryan on excursion if he keeps this up. Okay. We got our young boy.
I'm not a young boy. You can't do that.
We're gonna have our graduating young lion go on excursion. It's gonna be good.
I've already graduated. You can't do that.
I mean, Ryan, the difference here is now your travel expenses would be paid, but there are limits to that.
That's true.
I'm just saying I wish these two would appreciate the legend Sting.
We do.
Doesn't feel like you do.
I don't appreciate you.
Oh,
He
tomato.
doesn't even mention his British accent in the little video thing they did before the match. Like,
it was very much like Keanu in, what was that movie? Was it Interview with a Vampire? No, or was it Bram Stoker's Dracula? Wherever, where like for the first quarter of the movie he had a British accent and then it's gone. That was very much.
yes, Sting got rid of it very quickly.
So was his accent better or worse than Ant?
Better than
Yeah,
Ants.
that was a rough British accent from it.
Okay, if you guys, I'm being serious here. If you guys recall a movie called Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Paul Rudd's character, when he sees all this snow or whatever his name is, he goes, "You sound like you're from London, England."
That's right. I'm out to snow. Boshit, 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 boshit.
Right. Oh, hi Jesse Ozog. Good to see you jump in the chat tonight. It is a full house. It's going well. We're still working our way through All In before we even get to the news of All In. Chris Jericho versus Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay wins by pinfall with the Stormbreaker, the second Stormbreaker, I should mention. Guys, we could probably go on and on about this match. I'm going to say this may be, in my opinion, the best match Chris Jericho has had in his entire AEW career. I thought he looked great. I thought Ospreay looked great. And when his contract runs up in New Japan, I think this match is going to be one that everybody who can afford him will look to and be like, we need to sign him, like whatever it's going to take. And the E could come offering ridiculous money and he could take it, and I would understand why. But man, it was a joy to see Will Ospreay in this match for me. And I loved it. No special steps, no nothing like that. Even with the Sammy involvement with the bat, not losing because of that. Then obviously post-match Jericho shoving Sammy. We will talk about that later. I just thought this was really good segment of this show. Since I know you're such a huge Will Ospreay fan, I'm going to go to Ryan first.
Thank you. I was praying for this. This was
Making him immediately regret going to you first.
Never again.
This was a great match. I don't think enough was. I mean, it was mentioned tonight, but I still don't think enough was made out of the fact that Ospreay kicked out of the Judas Effect. Not a lot of wrestlers have done that. It's been a heavily protected move, and he kicked out clean, like it wasn't any So that was really nice touch. It makes you wonder, who can Osprey have a good match with?
It's
I
true.
think that's the question. Because Jericho, listen, Jericho is a legend, and even 5 years ago, I wouldn't say he needs Osprey to carry him to a match of this caliber. Recent matches have shown he's definitely declined, and then Osprey pulls this out of him. It's either like Jericho was saving himself, or Osprey could have a good match with a paperback. So I will try to leave other spots for everybody else. I just want to bring up that I loved that the Judas effect being kicked out of was a big moment to me. And that's a moment where I saw Jericho being like to Osprey, like, I'm going to give you something. Like, this is going to be your thing. And then I'm going to take 2 Stormbreakers, but you're kicking out of the Judas effect.
Well, knowing there's also another giant Will Ospreay fan on the show, Joe, what did you think?
Osprey is my wrestler of the year. And like Ryan said, he could have a good match with anyone. He could get a 4-star match out of Ryan. He could carry Ryan.
Let's not
to
be
the
crazy
finish.
Wow.
Joe's
coming with fire. He
6
doesn't
in the
want to be
Tokyo
a young
Dome.
boy. Wow.
If Ryan went to the Tokyo Dome, I know he doesn't leave his house, but if he made it to the Tokyo Dome, 6 stars. Yeah.
What's the Tokyo Dome?
The Tokyo Dome?
Oh, fuck you.
I thought the German suplex that Osprey took on the apron, on the edge of the apron, was nasty looking. I'm like, I don't know how you take that bump. And I love the sequence of the Judas effect block with the hook kick and then the cutter sequence. It just was so fluid and smooth, and it's everything I enjoy watching Osprey do in the ring. So, yeah, I think I don't have any complaints about it. It was just really, really good, and I don't know who we can't have a bad match with.
Well, that leaves us with maybe the one person on the show who really doesn't care for Will Ospreay. Kate, what'd you think?
That's fine.
Okay.
It was quite the sales pitch to Will Ospreay, huh? In 6 months from now, they're gonna be like, "Remember that time?" To answer your question about who can't he have a good match with, I just posted that clip before of him pulling off an ending sequence of 3 Destinos with an out on his feet, concussed Naito. Not even close for me as far as wrestler of the year goes. Like his G1, he got a great match out of Kenta. Speaking of like legends who are kind of on their back 9 here, just unbelievable. And he wrestled the night before.
Yeah.
Like it's just crazy what he's been able to do with everyone. And I love how complete the stories he tells in the ring are. Like, I also, by the way, Joe and I obviously weren't on the show last week, but I thought the promo he gave going into this was great, because I feel like Jericho's been taking losses and hasn't necessarily looked great. So how do you make this feel like super important? And I thought he just did a fantastic job. I loved this match, and the 2 Stormbreakers and the Blade Runner at the end. Jericho countering was really, really good. Best match out of Jericho in a really long time. Not surprised Will Ospreay was the guy to get him there, but along with Joe, just like what a outstanding body of work he's had in general. But like this past 8 months or so has just been out of control. It was nice because a lot of people, self-included, worked themselves into like, oh, Omega Ospreay 3 is going to be here. I think New Japan was like, Omega Ospreay 3 is going to be at Wrestle Kingdom. Yeah. So good for them. They're right. But this wasn't something I was excited about when it got announced. And my God, what a great match it ended up being. And I agree with you. I think this is probably, I was trying to think of his AEW singles matches, and this is probably Jericho's best one. And it really is a testament to both of them, how great this was. And just cool for Will Ospreay to get a moment. I'm sure he went to Wembley as a kid for all sorts of dumb shit, and to come out to 80,000 people with the entrance and the gear, like what a special thing for that guy to get to have. So just incredible stuff from Will Ospreay, and it just continues to blow my mind what he's able to do with just about anybody of any style in the ring. Nuts.
I'd also like you mentioned, Kate. Ryan and I, just so you know, we both said last week because we talked about the promo. Obviously, we both thought it did a great job building just how important this match should feel. You know, like they really did a good job with that. But beyond that, just with the fact you mentioned Will Ospreay wrestled the night before. Two things about that. One, how much faith AEW brass must have had in him to let him do that and not chance him getting hurt the night before you have 81,035 people to come to your show. So that's one. Will Ospreay being allowed to do that, awesome. And two, also awesome that the fact Jericho showed up there to fuel the story for the next night, which also just shows you how cool Jericho must be. For all he's done, he'll still show up at an indie show to further the story that they're telling in the main promotion. Like I just thought both of those things were really cool for them to have been allowed to do.
And I'll just say,
yes,
wrestling security needs to get it together. Just stop letting these masked men past you all the time. Like, get it together, man.
We've seen some wrestling security. LSG comes to mind. He's a 6-time loser on AEW television.
Yeah.
That's why they got him working security. So, you know, not that much faith.
Loser St. Giovanni, unfortunately.
That's right. I'm glad to have coined that one. Next
Loser
up,
security guard.
that's also a good one. Next up, we had the Trios Championship match. It was no holds barred house rules match. The Badass Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed versus the House of Black. The Acclaimed comes out of here with a win. I did not think that was going to happen. We're going to talk about the Acclaimed in the next hour, and then I became glad that they became the Trios champions. But I just don't know where we're going with this. You know, like what is going on with the House of Black? I mean, there is news on the House of Black, but I just don't understand. Like they had these belts, they had started the. Oh, you're welcome, LSG. Hey,
I do. That's awesome.
I just don't know what they're doing here with the House of Black, right? Like they did this whole House of Black or the House Rules matches, and they did like a few of those defenses, and then one time the Acclaimed was like, "We don't need special rules," so it didn't really feel like much. I just like, I that's the only reason that I was sort of like, "What's going on? Like, why did we have to get these belts off them?" Like, listen, everybody loves the Acclaimed, me included. But I just still sort of was like, why? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't understand why we did this.
But what were they doing with the House of Black with the Trios titles lately? Other than just, I mean, where were they going to go with them?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand like why we weren't doing anything with the House of Black. I didn't necessarily want them to.
Ryan is so popped by the fact that Gio's in the chat. It's like
I'm so popped that
me
we
up.
don't say it that often, and we went in on it tonight.
We've said it a couple times. It's about time he'd be around for it.
I know, Ryan. Why do you think I say it all the time? Because I'm waiting for the response.
But it had no place tonight. Like it didn't really have relevancy.
No, not at all. Not even a little.
He's a security guard.
True.
But still,
we worked it in. It made
sense. Things.
So anyway, that's just my take on this. Kate, you know, where do you stand on this trio, the Trios titles and the Acclaimed and the House of Black? Like, did this make sense to you?
No, not at all. I didn't like this. I love Bowens. I don't think they should be a trio because Bowens is the only great worker of the three. And they did not do a good job of building me into believing that these three guys could take down the House of Black. Like there was at no point in the match where I was like, story tracks. And they shouldn't be a trio. Like what works about House of Black is you have three entirely different types of wrestlers and you can't really prepare for any of these guys because the second you adjust to Malachi Black striking, you get hit with Brody Lee and his size, right? So there's all these things. And there at no point do I think Max Castro or Billy Gunn have a shot in hell, and Bowens against the three of them, like not the best odds. So I didn't like it. And I don't like them having the trios titles. And I also thought there was somewhere to go with LFI and House of Black. That's an awesome feud that's now just kind of being left on the table. So I feel like they did kind of stall out on the trios titles in that way, but I also feel like you put them on the Acclaimed and now what? Like, to me, it should have been Blackpool Combat Club. 100%.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think of this whole situation?
Well, now they just sell merchandise with it now. They can sell replica belts and all that stuff. So, I liked the entrance of House of Black. I liked the gear. I liked the braid tribute. I was a little sad that they didn't have Ass Man music for the Badass. I wasn't quite sure what the difference of Badass Billy Gunn was and Daddy Ass during the pay-per-view. It looked pretty much the same to me. And then the other thing I'm kind of confused about through the match were just the random cut-ins of Mercedes during this match.
Yeah, it was like they couldn't find her before, so they just cut her in now.
Mercedes versus Brody King. Set it up. I'm in.
Schlong, what's your take on the trio situation?
I was surprised. It's a very over trio, so I don't actually think it's as bad as Kate does if they won. They're very popular with the fans. Tonight's segment actually...
That means it's good. So was Dominic Mysterio. He fucking sucks.
Yeah, you're wrong on that opinion too, but it's okay. You are, but it's okay. Tonight's segment made it even more so with the new belts. So I actually had a lot of fun with this match. Thought it was really good. Kate doesn't appreciate Badass Billy Gunn, and I get it. You know, she doesn't understand what a badass is. You know, she's just not there as a person.
Like a famouser at the end of the match? Because that's just basically what.
No, it's his tights saying badass with 2 D's.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
God, I wish she understood these things more, Aunt. Don't you?
Seriously. I don't. I can't fit them into my small woman brain.
No, we know. That's why you can only handle a 9-minute match. But
it's true.
No, I have no problems with this. I thought it was good. And I think there's still stories coming out of this. You can still do LFI versus House of Black. That doesn't go away. We need more trios rivalries that have nothing to do with the belt.
Yeah, but you can put the belt on LFI better. The Acclaim didn't need the belt as much as LFI could use the belts.
Well, and that now this is the second time that the trios title has felt lesser to a feud or a potential feud than a different trios thing existing, right? Like, I feel like Blackpool Combat Club and the Elite started as a trios thing that felt more important than those titles already. So I'm all for multiple stories of multiple divisions going on. My God, I scream about it constantly on the show, I feel like. But you can't have it overpowered, and I don't know what you do with the Acclaimed from this point, especially because Max Caster is serviceable. Billy Gunn is your hot tag. Like, I'm all for watching Anthony Bowen show out on my screen anytime. But, like, the point of a trio is to have not that, right? So that's my thing.
Valid points. Valid points all around.
Yeah, I'm really smart and funny and pretty.
No.
All those things.
And finally, our main event match. Adam Cole versus MJF for the AEW World Championship. Thank you, Kate. So during this match, we do get a double clothesline, which leads to a double pin, which leads to a draw. But Adam asked for 5 more minutes. Max says, "You're fucking right. We're doing it until we have a winner." And we continue. Roddy comes down to the ring to try to sway Adam Cole to use the belt. Adam does not. And he gets rolled up with a small package by MJF. And MJF retains the championship. After the match, there is a little bit of back and forth between Adam Cole and MJF. Adam Cole, MJF accuses Cole of only caring about the title this whole time, not their friendship. MJF sort of gives himself up to be taken out by the belt. It doesn't happen. We embrace as best friends, brochachos. Everyone's happy. They raise each other's arms. And it is announced after the match that if you enjoyed this show, you'll enjoy it next year because they will be back for All In Wembley 2 August 25th, 2024. Book your hotel and flight now. So, Joe, what'd you think of the main event? Did it ultimately, what I would like to know from everybody is ultimately, did it live up to the hype of a main event?
Yeah, I think it did for me. I kept waiting for that split, that division between Cole and MJF, and not having it happen here was, obviously it kept giving us more going forward. So it's kind of a nice little slow burn to the eventual division. So I like that part, and then I thought that the character work by both Cole and MJF throughout the match, seeing how conflicted they were throughout the match of, who they really are, and what shortcuts they're willing to take, in the name of friendship or lack thereof. So yeah, and then I think once they get past, hopefully they defend their ROH titles and they get past the Kingdom. I really want them to face the best friends for the title of bestest best friends, and the winners get friendship bracelets.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like
welcome.
friendship bracelets. It should also be noted too. I forgot to mention MJF did not use the ring. He had it ready to go and then decided against it in the name of friendship. And also, Bryce Remsburg took quite a ref bump. So it wasn't one of those cheap ones. It was quite a ref bump. Kate, with those things also in mind that I forgot to mention, did this live up to the hype?
Yes and no. I feel like I loved the match and I like the story they're telling a lot, but because I was expecting a turn, I did feel like it was, in the moment, I kind of felt like it was a little unsatisfactory, but I like the story continuing. I think the payoff is going to get built to be even more monumental. Also kind of justified what happened with the tag team titles a little bit more. But I loved the storytelling in this. Both of them having a chance to choose friendship and both of them having a chance to choose the title. Really, really good stuff. The spot where MJF had Adam Cole up, it was on the table. It was like, you can do it, Max. Like, the table's narrow. When he was talking to himself, like, all those little things, man. MJF is just so damn good at being in the story. Like, it's really rare that you get to see someone be in the story in the way that he's in the story. Just excellent. And Adam Cole's so great too. But I loved how many times Max had to choose actively to not be a piece of shit, and that he still got to win makes this more interesting. Bryce Remsburg, man, ref bump to end all ref bumps. My God, that was a full bump. Loved Adam Cole's facial expression after too. He's really good at the "what the fuck did I just do" without it being so cartoonish spot. Just really great stuff, and I still feel like they could go either way with whoever turns on who. It feels more and more like it's Adam Cole, and we can talk about what happened tonight with that a little bit, but fucking A, like, this is really good. And so I understand the temptation to keep it going, but that's a pretty special moment because I'm pretty sure they're like legit friends too. So to actually get to stand with your friend in front of 80,000 people in main event, the biggest show in wrestling history, is pretty fucking cool.
And Schlong, how about you? Did this live up to the hype?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with this match. It was really good storytelling. This match was all about story. Kate made a good point for once when she pointed out that it made the tag decision early on in the night feel a little bit better, because I was dreading the inevitable, oh, he turned on him and now they're tag champs together. That was going to be such a terrible storyline. So it made that feel a little bit better. And Adam Cole was kind of a piece of shit throughout the match, which was the interesting thing. MJF consistently chose the good guy thing, and Adam Cole, up until the end, was taking all the shortcuts he could. So it was kind of interesting.
Well, I do think it lived up to the hype because, for a match that we thought could come to actually main event Wembley and get the reactions it did, they told a good story leading up to it. And, these aren't your two, I guess, traditional main event, guys, right? They're not giants. They're not, sort of these Connecticut fucking main event caliber guys. So I thought it definitely lived up to the hype. It gave you everything you want. The story continues. I'm here to see where it goes because I thought it just really did a good job. So I thought overall the show was a lot of fun. Now we have to talk about the shadow over this event as well, because about, I don't know, a third of the way through the show, news started to spread that there had been a backstage altercation between two parties. And then it started to come out that it was Jungle Jack Perry and CM Punk. And in the media scrum, Tony Khan came right out and said, I can't comment on it this time, but there was an incident backstage before we went on live. We're investigating, and he had to learn more of what happened and couldn't really address it. But he said he wanted to be honest. Well, in the days that follow, we find out that there was an altercation with CM Punk and Jack Perry. Jack Perry in his match did look into the camera and say that was real glass. And apparently backstage, they had an altercation. There were a lot of different accounts of that story going around. There still are. We're not going to go through all of them. But apparently someone wasn't happy with the other one. They got a little physical. They were separated. And they were both asked to leave the arena early. So some rumor mill stuff going around was that the Torch was reporting Jack Perry is going to take the brunt of the blame from management for the altercation with CM Punk backstage, because he should have known, that his on-air jab was going to cause an issue with Punk. And then they also said that the company's a little frustrated with CM Punk because he's got a controversial leadership style that will escalate situations that could be avoided if he would handle them in a less confrontational manner.
No. Some way other than assaulting your coworkers? Yeah.
Torch also went on to say that after All In, Punk threatened to quit over frustration with everything that had happened. And that production did consider ways to fill time on the broadcast because Punk said he wasn't going to go on, but was able to regroup. And apparently Samoa Joe helped talk him back into calming himself down and going out and doing the job that they were going to go out there to do, which was good because the match was good, right? So we got a good match. Some other veterans are out, or a veteran also talked to the Torch and said that they put blame on Tony Khan for fostering the environment. But, this has happened with experienced wrestlers too, where people think they can go into business for themselves. There were also reports from Fightful and I think the House of Wrestling that said there has not been a lot of communication since All In between CM Punk and Tony Khan. Some rumors even go as far to say that CM Punk is quit. He is no longer there. He doesn't want to be there. It's still sort of unconfirmed. What is still sort of unconfirmed, although I saw it in Sports Illustrated, so I don't fucking know anymore, is that Jack Perry and CM Punk were both suspended. So it is likely that they are not going to be. It's likely they're not going to be on All Out this weekend. In this case, the word is that Tony Khan witnessed the altercation. Maybe not how it started, but he witnessed it. Like they got into a tussle, and maybe some monitors, sort of in gorilla position, got knocked over, so he saw what was going on. But basically, the accounts that are out there, the basic account, like I said, we're not going through every one of them, but what you could sort of boil down from all accounts is something happened where Punk addressed Jack Perry and said, "Do you have a problem with me?" And Perry said something like, "Well, you heard what I said." And then Punk basically said, "I can beat your ass." And then they started to tussle and maybe said, "Let's take this outside." So who the fuck knows? We'll know, I guess, when more came out, but when more comes out at some point. There are also reports out there that say that CM Punk chewed out Tony Khan in front of a number of people backstage. So things don't seem to be moving in a great direction right now. We have to discuss this because this has, clearly ripple effects that will affect everything. Brawl Out happened and fucked everything up for months. The title had to be vacated. The trios titles were vacated. Storylines that they were setting up were put to rest. Now if these guys are suspended, CM Punk in Chicago is not going to be on his Chicago show when, you'd want to make that Chicago money putting him on the show. Almost hate to say it. You'd almost want to say, put him on the show, that, strip him of that title by losing that match and then suspend him or do whatever you're going to do. But this is just not a good situation to me, man. The other ripple that happened here is there's reports that Brody King broke his hand because he got frustrated at what happened, hearing what happened, and punched a wall or a garbage can or something. And now he's got a hand injury. So again, we have to talk about it because it's out there and we are an AEW focused show. Guys, what the fuck is going on here? How much more of this can we take? In my opinion, there's a common denominator here. There's one person who's been tied to all of these, instances. I don't not fault Tony Khan for this because you have to fucking control what's going on if it's your company. But there is still one common denominator that's been involved in 2 altercations now backstage. How much more of this can we do? Can we handle? I'm not even going to joke around. Kate, you're probably the biggest CM Punk mark on the show. I would love to hear your thoughts, and I'm not looking at that as a way to jab at you. I really just want to know what you think at this point because, how many times are we going to do this where it's going to affect what you've got coming down the pipeline?
No, of course it's fucking ridiculous. It's ridiculous for so many reasons, and I gotta say, the chief one is you brought him back with nothing resolved, and of course this is gonna happen again. You brought him back, you're going to Forbidden Door, and you're having him sit at the other end of the building of certain town. It is so insanely predictable at this point. There's an issue with Jack Perry and CM Punk. Why is someone not there to make sure they don't cross paths? Probably a really dumb fucking idea by Jack Perry to poke the bear right before somebody goes out, to fight Samoa Joe at the start of a pay-per-view in front of 80,000 people. Really, really just a fucking stupid idea all around. Punk, I don't know, man. You're fighting a friend you've had for decades in front of 80,000 people to kick off the biggest pay-per-view in history, and you're still not happy. Go home, figure it out. Because if you're not in that moment because you're fixating on what was a shitty but pretty benign line from Jack Perry, you're not a well person at this point. You're just not. I think it's all fucking ridiculous. I think CM Punk is ridiculous. I think you get paid extremely well to go to work once or twice a week. I understand it's the most physically, mentally, and emotionally demanding job in the world, maybe. Grow the fuck up. You don't get to assault your coworkers. You still have a job to do. You don't get to send home the head of talent relations because you're in a pissy mood in Christopher Daniels a couple weeks. What we know is CM Punk's attitude is not changing, right? And what we also know is that Tony Khan does fucking jack shit about it. So either negotiate his release or have there be consequences for his actions. Now, the suspension makes sense because the suspension is also probably predicated by a legal investigation. That's what happened, right? So we know when this happened with the Elite, they were suspended because of the investigation, and CM Punk was injured anyway, right? So that all aside, this happens there. And let's not forget, it's also international law. So now you're dealing with the UK law, the US law, and all this shit. Really unfortunate timing, not only with the biggest wrestling event in history, but back-to-back events in Chicago, of course. But how did you not see it coming? Is just to have all the guys who don't get along on the front of things, I mean, literally in back-to-back-to-back matches, is just asinine. Like, you got to do a better job of seeing this shit coming. If you're not going to do anything, one of two things has to change. His attitude has to change, or you have to fucking do something. Preferably both, right?
Mhm.
His attitude certainly hasn't changed. So you got to figure out a way to get out ahead of it. Just ridiculous. And I got to say, it's kind of insane that CM Punk and Samoa Joe put on as good of a match as they did after that. Because that happened. They were changing out Pyro because they thought they were going to have to change the order of the card because this was that close leading up to the incident. And then they ultimately didn't because Samoa Joe fucking rules and got everybody to get their heads out of their ass. And they went on and put on a great match. So it's just, who could have seen it coming except for literally everybody? It's such a frustrating pattern that we keep seeing in this way. And it sucks that it overshadowed the event. Now, I will say it felt like up until today and half of yesterday, it didn't overshadow the event. It sounded like CM Punk's a dick, but we had this really great show. And then Monday kind of felt that way too. And then when details started to emerge, it started to detract from that. Also, you have to figure out, staff got sick in Wembley. People weren't there because Bray's funeral was originally scheduled for today, which is really sad.
Mhm.
And now you don't have CM Punk or Jack Perry for All Out. So you have to figure out what Collision looks like for the entire time that this is going on. And CM Punk's been involved in basically every story on Collision. So,
Right.
holy shit, are you up against it?
And I also want to be clear too, because you said too, like, it doesn't help that Jack Perry poked the bear. I don't take any blame off of Jack Perry either. You have to be better than that. You can't.
Oh yeah, but you as a 45-year-old veteran need to grow the fuck up.
No, I was gonna say that's the bigger point, is you can't play down to their level when you're supposed to be the veteran pro, right?
Yeah.
You can't play down to somebody who should know better, who is significantly younger and doesn't have as much experience as you do in a bigger company. You know, it's really unfortunate. And to call out too, like you had said, they were figuring out how they were going to switch the card around. Initially, there were reports from, I don't know, the Torch or the Observer or somebody, maybe Fightful too. I can't remember, since there's news coming out from everywhere. But the word was originally they went to FTR and the Bucks to say, can you lead this show off if we need you? But they were not ready. I don't know if they were still working things through or still just physically preparing, but they weren't ready. And apparently the Golden Elite and the Bullet Club and Takeshita said, we're ready if you need us, like, we'll go. So they were prepped, I think, and sort of ready if needed. And then cooler heads prevailed with Samoa Joe. And they got out there, as you said, Kate. So that was good. You know, I guess, Joe, what's your take on this whole thing? You haven't been part of this to go through Brawl Out like we did. So I'd love to get your take on this whole situation.
It's interesting that happened almost a year to the date of that Brawl Out, that we have these issues coming up again. And there are just so many, like, apparently systemic issues within AEW's organization from top down of how they handle personnel, and to, you know, enable some person to have that much free reign, or to believe he has that much free reign, isn't helping. And I don't know if it's going to take, you know, Warner Brothers Discovery to step in eventually and be like, maybe the juice isn't worth the squeeze, and, you know, we negotiate a buyout and we go our separate ways, and hopefully we can repair some of the locker room issues. But I'm in agreement with when you have a 45-year-old man getting upset at a young wrestler who's doing the same shit that he did coming up through the wrestling, and, you know, taking little jabs and going into business for himself at times. It's just interesting that his skin isn't thick enough to take some of it sometimes. But yeah, it just, there's so much, you know, so much fault to go around. But I do think they were, you know, on the sands in the hourglass of Punk's time in AEW, I feel is just slowly dwindling.
I mean, he's frustrated, and some say that he said he's done with this and all wrestling. Like he's just done with it. Nothing's changed, but he seems to not be the one who's changing as well. Ryan, do you think Punk's worth all this mess? I mean, what do you think?
Not when you start overshadowing your own shows and start causing situations where they have to be rebooked. He's great, and Collision is great, but you can't, if you're fucking with pay-per-views coming up, if you're overshadowing your own shows, then no, because you're actively hurting the company. This whole thing is just stupid. I like wrestling tea as much as anyone in the world. This one I'm not as sold on because it's just so incredibly frustrating that people just won't grow up. That's what it comes down to. People just need to grow the fuck up.
Yeah. And like Joe said, it is pretty much a year later that this is happening again. And I think we all said last year when this happened, like, this can't ever happen again. And I think when everybody came back, we were like, clock's ticking. Like, let's see how they do this. And
Can't believe it happened again with all of the nothing that they did about it. So
right. Well, and that's where I don't take any blame away from the business either, right? From the company. They didn't do anything to resolve the issue. They didn't.
No, they gave him his own show. Just like when MJF got on an airplane, they gave him the title. Like, they just go out of their way to reward bad behavior. It's very odd.
So what is the ultimate solution if we have to put our finger on a solution? Do you
firing squad, line them up against the wall, cigarette, blindfolds, just take care of it?
I mean, you negotiate a buyout and we say we're done with Punk. I don't think the ratings are worth the headaches you have to go through if this is what we're going to continue to get. And again, I am not taking away from the fact that Tony Khan and management haven't done anything or put enough, protective pieces in place to keep this from happening, or just not to happen in general if you're not going to split people up. But like, there has to be a solution here, and somebody's got to take the blame and get punished for this in some way. And it's not going to be Tony Khan. He owns the company. So what's the solution? I don't think personally, I didn't think when it happened the first time CM Punk was worth it. I know he pops ratings. I know he sells a lot of tickets in Chicago and a lot of other markets, but I don't think this backstage shit is worth it. So I would say that's the solution. Negotiate a buyout, let him quit, whatever the fuck you want to do. But like, everybody just going radio silent on each other and being passive aggressive and not talking about it doesn't work. So Ryan says firing squad. Joe, Kate, what do you think? What's the solution here?
I'll say what Sean said, which was, I think Edge's asking price just went up. I think Mercedes Moné's asking price just went up. Because I think the solution is probably to get rid of Punk, but I don't think you can really get rid of Punk unless you have another ringer in the back, because you sold Warner a deal based on him being the centerpiece of your show. So how do you negotiate a buyout that lets you sign someone of a similar caliber is an issue for them. And it might be the thing that keeps them from releasing him. But they need to. And I don't know what the solution is, because it sounds like there needs to be like an honest to God sit down. That there hasn't been, like a real one, like an honest one, not an ESPN article, whatever the fuck. Like, because if the first thing that guy said when he came back was, "I'm sorry, I put you in that position," and then he immediately went and put you in that position several times over, that's horseshit. So something's going on with that dude. And I said when he came back, it is a huge mistake to bring him back and not, before anything, to have him come back and not have sat down with the Jacksons and Kenny Omega is just stupid. Because there's just, if that's not cleared out, there's going to be people choosing sides the entire time. There's going to be people who don't want to choose sides that feel like they have to. It makes every molehill into a mountain. Like, nobody got violently hurt in this backstage altercation. It probably wouldn't have even been something that made the news if it weren't for all these other fucking instances leading up to it. Nobody's going to give a shit about CM Punk and Jungle Boy getting into like basically a glorified kerfuffle. Because that shit happens in wrestling all the time. So it shouldn't. But I do think like, A, it's a shame that we never got an honest to God heel run out of CM Punk and AEW because that would have been magic. And B, I don't know what you do other than release him. Like I don't understand what the solution is outside of that. I don't know. Because this ain't working. But they've got deep-seated backstage issues that need to be addressed. Because this is just happens way too the fuck often. Way too the fuck often.
It's almost like a lot of professional sports teams and college teams and everything else. They have like their own little sports psychologists or therapists that work with the teams. It's almost like they need someone there to help them with communication, with working their shit out with one another and themselves for the betterment of the company.
Well, yeah, you don't give them a TV show before you've done that. That's for fucking sure.
Well, yeah, you take the toys away from the child. You don't just say you're grounded, go to your room. You take your toys away, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll have to wait and see where we go with this. It's not good right now, and it's probably going to affect this weekend and a couple more weeks ahead. So we'll have to see what comes out of this. The other thing that should be noted too, and then this is going to wrap up basically All In, is obviously Mercedes Moné was there. They showed her a couple times on camera. A lot of people were like, well, what the fuck is the point of having her there if she can't do anything? Well, she was in a giant walking boot and she can't do anything. And they apparently, and I'm sure she had a say, but they didn't want to show her in a giant walking boot on television. So, fine, have her in the crowd, have her waiting in the wings. I don't have a problem with that. It shows just how sort of important this is, right? Hey, she's there checking it out. She's probably the biggest person out there on the free. Well, she's not a free agent, but she's the biggest person sitting out there who they have the ability to work with, right? So build it up a little bit. This was the first time they were able to get her in the crowd on television. So I didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah, and Saraya was her last match. Or she was Saraya's last match. So I was like, oh no, Saraya's going over. So that as soon as I saw Mercedes, I was like, that's awesome. So we'll see what she's able to do and when she's able to do it. I don't know what her contract status is with Japan or anything, but she makes every product better. That's for damn sure. I can't wait till she's cleared again, but it makes sense that she was there based on the fact that everybody was kind of calling for that moment with her and Saraya.
Yeah, and I think she was probably going to show up at Blood and Guts had she not been injured. And unfortunately, injury has fucked up a lot of their plans lately. So that is All In. But we are building to All Out this weekend, which seems like a B show. But we're going to talk about Dynamite. We're going to talk a little bit about the match card that's been announced so far for All In. We're going to go through that stuff, quickly since it's already 2 hours in. But we're going to go through it, make sure everybody's brought up to speed. But before we do that, we're just going to take a quick pause for us to hit the bathroom, get a drink. There's no women's wrestling, Kate, so you can't get some chicken fingers. But, do your best. And we will be back momentarily after a word from some of the other shows that are part of the Shining Wizards Network.
We'd like to thank each and every one of you for tuning in every Monday night to listen to the Shining Wizards. If you'd like to continue to support us outside of listening, we've got a few ways for you to do that. If you shop at Amazon, go over to amazon.shiningwizards.com, do your shopping as usual, and when you make your purchase, a little bit of that purchase price will go back to support the show. If you like to wear t-shirts, merch.shiningwizards.com will take you to our Pro Wrestling Tees store, where we've got over a dozen great designs from over 11 years of professional wrestling podcasting. You can become a Patreon supporter at patreon.com/wizardspodcast where each and every week we call out your name as one of our show producers. And the more you support us, the more things that you're entitled to receive. And believe me, they are fantastic. If you can't support us monetarily, if you don't shop at Amazon, that's absolutely fine. Continue to listen to us wherever you listen to us on the World Wide Web. And make sure you like, rate, review, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Doesn't cost you anything, helps us out, and we can continue to bring you the love fest that is the Shining Wizards.
What's up, folks? It's your boy, the Impact Player, Mr. Philly Ray, inviting all of you to check out the Turnbuckle Throwbacks Wrestling Podcast. Join us as we cover all things current in the world of pro wrestling, as well as paying homage to the old school, the squared circle. So listen in and find out why we are the recognized symbol of excellence in sports entertainment broadcasting. Find us on all social media platforms and anywhere you get your podcast from. And as always, we are the proudest members of the Shining Wizards Network and Rant Entertainment Media.
Are you tired of being lied to every day by the mainstream media?
Do you want to know what's really going on in the world?
Do you want to make up your own mind about things, not be told what to think or say?
Then listen to Inconclusive Breakdown, a weekly anti-PC look at the world of entertainment and current events, brought to you without censorship or filters.
You can find us everywhere you listen to podcasts, BitChute, and on ShiningWizardsNetwork.com.
And also, we're a proud member of the Shining Wizards Network.
Got 30 minutes to kill? Come check out 30 Screams or Less, where we review a horror movie in 30 minutes or less. We cover new movies and old ones too.
We'll give our honest thoughts on the movie, good or shit, as well as a rating of each one that we watch.
New episodes weekly, available on the Shining Wizards Network and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.
I'm Steve.
And I'm Corey.
Come check us out at 30 Screams or Less.
G'day guys, my name is Thomas, one half of the Broadcast Podcast. With our podcast, we go back and watch wrestling events from WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, AEW, and many other wrestling promotions. You can check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast, that's TheBrokast, and you can also download all episodes on Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Castro, and many other podcast apps.
You like your music heavy? Then check out Radioactive Metal on the Shining Wizards Network. For over 16 years now, Radioactive Metal has been one of the longest running podcasts. Over the years, we've interviewed some legendary metal acts, had some awesome discussions, and cranked a hell of a lot of tunes. So join your cool Uncle Snowy and his co-host Aaron for the audio mosh pit that is Radioactive Metal here on the Shining Wizards Network. What's up, everyone? When on the Shining Wizards Network, be sure to check out Wrestling Night in Canada. If we're not recording another kick-ass podcast,
Or playing in punk bands.
Or recording kick-ass heavy metal albums,
then we're sitting back, we're grabbing a couple brews, and going over everything to do in the world of pro wrestling.
because we're from Winnipeg, you idiots.
The Mark Order Podcast is the only show you need if you're looking for dedicated coverage of everything AEW on the Shining Wizards Network. Join us live on YouTube every Wednesday night at 10:15 p.m. Eastern after Dynamite to chat along with the show. If you can't join us live, listen to us on your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on all social channels at Mark Order Pod and use the hashtag #JoinTheMarkOrder, because if you don't find us,
we will find you.
I'm Kevin Rowe.
I'm Al Day.
And we're a couple of down under pounders that co-host Rogue Day Does, an action figure collecting podcast where we talk about, well, just about anything that tickles our fancy at any given moment.
We're grumpy old men, and sometimes people get on our nerves. And if you get on our nerves, guess what? You get off the lawn.
We also go on a little bit of a mission. We go back and we're grading every wrestling figure line that's out there. I'm talking LJNs. I'm talking Jacks. I'm talking Hasbros. Who doesn't like a little Hulkaplex? It's a Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production found on the Shining Wizards Network.
I'm Duke Banks. And together we are the co-hosts of Your Duke Road. If you want to hear about some terrible wrestling shows, we got you covered.
Well, we talk about good ones.
We're currently talking about the Death Doesn't Step.
I know what we're fucking talking about. Sometimes we get guest spots, like from the Taskmaster. I like to listen to the Your Duke and Rogue podcast. They're funny guys. I like when they talk about the Nards plows. I like Nards plows. That's a good move. And I like the Dungeon of Doom. You know, sometimes I call my butt the Dungeon of Doom. Thanks, guys.
Oklahoma.
Let me tell you a little bit about my favorite wrestling podcast. All right. It's a podcast for two men, Duke Banks, Kevin Rowe. They talk about professional wrestling. It's a man's sport. All right? And who better to talk about a man's sport than Duke? Oklahoma.
Once in a while, Vince Russo stops by.
Oh, you piece of shit. If you're not listening to the Duke and Rogue podcast in the back with the boys, piece of shit, I don't know what you're doing. It's you gotta slide one in there. If you're a man, you're talking about something your man can slide one. Bro, take the time to slide one in there. All right, bro, you piece of shit, slide one in there. A Gorilla Brain Wrestling podcast production that you can find on the Shining Wizards Network.
All right, we're back here on the Mark Order podcast. Before we move on to Dynamite, just want to let you know you guys can find us on all of our socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, at Mark Order Pod. And on YouTube and any of your podcasting platforms, subscribe, like, rate, review. All those things help us. So thank you in advance for doing those.
Yeah, you want to tune in on YouTube so you can see Ryan's forehead.
All night.
Mean.
More importantly, though,
Forehead.
we do have a way that you can support us. And if you go to the link tree in our bio, we do have a link directly to our wonderful Pro Wrestling Tee store where you can find all of our t-shirts. We've got 4 shirts up, 2 front prints, 2 front and back prints. So click that link in the link tree to go directly there, or head over to prowrestlingtees.com/markorderpod, or just search the Mark Order podcast on Pro Wrestling Tees, and you'll be able to pick up one of those shirts to show your support for us. And as Kate says, we're not going to go into a giant tirade tonight because we've already done a few of those. But if you like supporting women, you will buy a t-shirt.
You can support us, i.e., a woman, women, at prowrestlingtees.com. Buy our shirts. And if you don't, you hate women. That's it. No tirade.
Very true.
That's just it.
Very true.
And if you really want to support women, you buy multiple shirts. There's a direct correlation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that money goes into us putting into the production and all the other stuff that we have to spend some money on. So thank you in advance. And to women's rights, for sure. So we're going to go through Dynamite. And like I said, we spent so long going through All In and all that stuff. We're going to go through this a little abridged tonight. But we have our first match, which is John Moxley versus Commander. Now, it should be noted, too. I'm sorry, before we jump in. Should be noted, too, there weren't a lot of announced matches for this card. The only announcements we had, like, up until 5 o'clock was the Orange Cassidy Penta match for the international title, where their winner will get Moxley at All Out. And we knew we were going to hear from Adam Cole. And as Kate said before, Bray's services were, I think, today, right?
They were scheduled for today, and the hurricane screwed them up, I think. But a lot of people were like getting there and requesting off and stuff. So
yeah, I think what I had seen was that Tony Khan pretty much told people if you need the time to go to the services, you can absolutely do that. So I think it sort of put them in a spot where they maybe weren't sure what they were going to get tonight, and we're also building sort of post All In to All Out. So we got Jon Moxley versus Commander to open the show. That was announced very late before the show started. And Moxley does come out with a win over Commander with a cross armbar submission. And then this is clearly just building up to sort of his match at All Out and also the main event. They did show a video package on Orange Cassidy's, international championship reign. So it all sort of goes in hand in hand. Thought the match was perfectly fine. Didn't think Commander had a shot in hell. So this went exactly the way I thought. Would anybody like to add anything here? That's how we're going to, by the way, ladies and gents, that's how we're sort of going to do this tonight, just to get through it. If you want to add something, please feel free. I will stop and you can add something.
He didn't bleed very much tonight in this match, so you knew it was kind of a light match for him.
Very true.
He didn't have very much blood left, He got skewered out of him. So, well, if you like collisions of styles, I don't know if there's a bigger collision of styles than these two. Really good match, though. They're always both in control of it. In the interest of expediting time, I'll just say I thought it was great. Not any particular spots to call out. I would like to see some of the Luchador Shuffle get put into actual feuds. They're usually just used for these one-offs. Like maybe add an actual story around some of them would be cool.
So we also get footage of the Young Bucks in the locker room at Wembley Stadium talking about how it was supposed to be their big night, but then FTR rolls up to say that they respect them and showed that respect, but they denied it. What's the deal? And they explained they were just disappointed for the way things worked out. The Bucks, explained they were disappointed for the way things, sort of went. And they get up to offer their hands, but the Bang Bang Gang roll up and say that it's a winner's room and the Bucks should get out. And eventually that leads to booking a match at All Out, Bullet Club Gold versus FTR and the Young Bucks. So we know that is now set for All Out. Should be a fun match. I also popped really hard that they had the Jay White, cardboard Jay White. It was just Jay White, right, Kate?
Well, it's a cardboard cutout of Switchblade. Jay White. Nice to see cardboard Jay White making his Dynamite debut.
And I enjoyed that they had him bubble wrapped for his safety. He did have to travel internationally.
Yes, of course. Got to take good care of him.
We also get a recap of Saraya winning the AEW World's Championship. And that's when we get the stunning Renee Paquette interviewing Toni Storm backstage, who is beside herself yet again, slightly disheveled. And she says she's happy for Saraya, but she went off script and forgot her place. And now Tony's left with no friends, no title, no future, because things aren't really well between the Outcasts. And she gets agitated and says Wembley went tits up and she can't trust anybody. She even blames her shoes and throws her shoes at Renee from off camera. I thought this was awesome.
She's hysterical. I love this. I have no title. I have no friends. I have no sense of self anymore. Starlet Toni Storm is hilarious. When she threw her shoes, I just almost fell off my seat. She's so funny. And for someone who also played like the cool girl wild child of the 80s character extremely well, for her to be able to just flip into this almost right after is fucking awesome. What a delight this curler haired Toni Storm version is. I love it.
It's great stuff out of her, and I'm interested to see where this story goes, right? Because Ruby's also got her match lined up for All Out against Chris Statlander for a title. So if she wins a title too, Toni Storm is left out in the cold in the Outcasts.
It's true.
Doesn't look too good. Guys, we move on to Jericho. Jericho was announced as the show went on in the air tonight that he was going to make an appearance. He talks about the spectacle and the majesty that All In was, and that there was a huge Fozzy show on Friday and then the biggest wrestling show in history on Sunday. And And his match against Ospreay, one of his favorite points, although it was a show he'll never forget, although it didn't go the way he wanted. He said there was one thing he wanted to forget, and that was the way he treated Sammy Guevara. And he'd like to get it off his chest and invited Sammy down. So
Sammy Guevara
makes his entrance. And Jericho says he's not happy with how he pushed him after the match. He was frustrated because he lost to Will, and he shouldn't have taken it out on Sammy. He didn't know if Sammy really did everything he could do to help, but he did watch back and saw that he hit Ospreay in the head with the bat, and he wanted to apologize. They shake hands. And Sammy considers it, or Sammy says that he told Chris that he was always going to have his back, and a little push won't break them up. And Jericho says that he feels better. He's just been playing the match over and over again in his head, and he tried to figure out how he could have won. Maybe he should have zigged when he should have zagged. Maybe he should have grabbed some tights when he rolled him up. Maybe Sammy could have hit him in the head harder with the bat, and that really pisses Sammy off. And he says it's funny because he was watching it. When he was watching it, he thought maybe Chris should have hit that Judas effect a little harder. And Jericho doesn't want to get insulted, or Jericho doesn't want him to get insulted or angry. But sometimes when he asks Sammy to do something, it doesn't turn out how he really envisioned it. And that's when Sammy asks if he envisioned him leaving his pregnant wife to fly to London to help him and not actually wrestle on the show. And Sammy says that maybe he'd have been, more focused on been less focused on having Jericho's back if he could have wrestled on the show. But Chris says, if you listen to me, you'll be there next year. And Sammy says he can learn, how to not lose in front of him, or that he can learn how to not lose in front of him. And Chris says that maybe next time he'll fight for the world, the world title. He won't lose. That's when Guevara basically says that 4 years ago, the same thing happened to Jericho. He won the title, but then he lost it at a steakhouse. That was quite fun. Basically, they go back and forth trading jabs, and Jericho says that he doesn't want them to fight. He wants them to have a match to get the sex gods back together and to really get this tag team off the ground running. So next week, they're going to have a match on the road to the titles, and they shake hands and hug, and all seems right in the world of Jericho and Sammy Guevara. Guys, there is a little bit to talk about here if you'd like to add stuff, but I believe clearly this isn't fully resolved, much like a CM Punk situation in the back. This is not all resolved. There is stuff still bubbling underneath. Nothing has changed. And this sex gods thing won't last. I did, though, appreciate how commentary, especially like Shivani, was like, I like this. I think they're a great team. Like they were playing into this. I thought it all worked out nicely. Do I want to see Sammy and Jericho together continued forever? No. But I like to see where this is going to go to ultimately split them up, because one is going to go way heel and one is going to go way face.
I initially, while this was going on, was like, give me calling drones by their first name, Jericho wearing leather pants and a hot tub, Jericho back. But I actually really liked where it ended up going. It felt very grounded in like reality, which was nice. Like that's not usually the way of the Jericho stables, right? But I really, really liked this because they both felt pretty justified, and they both are kind of straddling the line of heel and face. So it does work of which one of them is going to turn on the other. Helps that Jericho had a great match. Helped that, to Ryan's point, Will Ospreay getting out of the Judas effect kind of justified what Sammy said here, which made a lot of sense. I feel like they didn't need to drag Tay into this, but it was fine, I guess. But this was actually really well done. I'm also curious to see where Danny Garcia ends up. Like, is he coming back here to be a menace and screw with them? Is he fighting a tag team partner? What happens there? But this was a really strong segment. I really enjoyed what they were able to pull together.
Open floor. Anybody else? Joe, Ryan?
I'm surprised about how long they've taken with their storyline of will they, won't they, can they coexist. It's not like they teased you early on the front end, and then Jericho has some other thing going on with the Callis family and Osprey and all the other people going on, and they circle back around to this, Sammy and Jericho inevitable face off. So it just feels like it's been going on for like this whole we're waiting for the break to happen had been going on for a long time.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. So, well, we'll see where this goes. And Kate brings up Danny Garcia. We do find out sort of where Danny Garcia is going a little later. We'll touch on it. There is a Blackpool Combat Club promo where Moxley basically talks about what's going to happen at the match on Sunday, basically saying that him, Orange Cassidy, and Penta, they're more bite than bark. And while everybody has catchphrases, hashtags, they're not about that. We're going to find out who's got the biggest bite when they leave Chicago on Sunday. We then move into our next.
I feel like it's a bad idea to book Ace Steel right now. The biggest bite? That's all I could think about.
Okay, good call.
Seems bad. Seems bad.
Yeah, probably not a good idea. We move on to our next match of the night. Another thing that was not announced too far before the show started. Eddie Kingston versus Wheeler Yuta in a New Japan Strong Openweight Championship match. Loved Eddie coming out to the ring, all bandaged up, showing he was banged up from the match. Love to see it. It brings me back to I don't know, late 90s, early 2000s. It wasn't WWECW. It was something before that. I don't remember. It was some bullshit federation, but those guys used to come out a lot in bandages and stuff, which just brought me back to that. Either way.
I don't know what you're referring to.
I don't know. It wasn't WWECW. So I don't know.
So who cares?
Eddie does win with a back fist to the future to retain his New Japan Strong Openweight Championship. Post-match, Claudio comes to the ring, holding his championship, or his Ring of Honor, I should say, World Championship, to help Yuta up. And he doesn't look once at Eddie, who's barking at him the whole time to fight him. This, I imagine, is straight up Kate's alley because she's an Eddie mark. But I do think that they maybe draw this story out to the end of the year for Ring of Honor. I know, Kate, you really want to see it happen at Grand Slam. I think that something like that they would wait on for the pay-per-view at the end of the year, but I could be wrong. Either way, I thought this match was a lot of fun, and love the psychology of Wheeler Yuta targeting, the elbow and other body parts that are clearly injured on Eddie, because that's sort of the Blackpool thing to do, right? You got to be smarter than the average bear. So, Kate, if you have anything you'd like to add about Eddie Kingston in the ring, this is your time.
I love him. Match is really good. Nice to have Eddie Kingston back on my AEW screen. The disrespect of Claudio not even making eye contact with him. What is going to get under Eddie Kingston's skin more than that? Holy shit. That was a super, super fun thing to do. And as an Eddie mark, I got to say, Claudio, this version of him is just perfect. To a T. Love the condescension from him. Really, really fun stuff, considering how thrown together this Dynamite was. Some really good shit on here.
Yeah. And again, sort of feels like it was thrown together last minute, but they're also sort of building to Sunday, and they have to build storylines, beyond. So there's a lot going on. It didn't feel it felt like a pretty good show for stuff that came together way at the last minute. Joe, I'm not sure if it looked like you were going to add something. You tell me if you have something to add. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I liked the pace of the match. I thought it told a nice story of his injuries coming out of the pay-per-view, and, Yuta working on those throughout the match. And then, I think, maybe you get the Eddie Claudio match at Grand Slam, and then maybe you have an Eddie Moxley at the ROH pay-per-view.
Could happen. Don't hate that. Speaking of Grand Slam, we're going to be there. Kate, your light keeps going on and off.
Yeah,
Are you in
you're in
you in a rave or something?
I wish.
Even Ryan's going to Grand Slam.
Ryan
no,
is not.
Ryan's not. He's
Ryan
got to
is-
get ready for the Tokyo Dome.
We do.
Ryan-
I'm booked.
There's a chance I have an extra ticket, Ryan.
I can't.
I'm
Well,
gonna laugh
Kate and I
at
will
the
be
Beth
there.
Moore show.
We will be there, Aunt.
Joe, I have an extra ticket if you want to fly in.
I was gonna say I'm gonna laugh if I end up at more shows with you guys than Ryan does.
Oh my god. Joe flies
Well,
in.
I just went to 2 shows with Kate last weekend, or 2 weekends ago.
In your backyard. It was basically
True.
backyard wrestling at the WWE CW arena.
That's right. That's right.
You know how like Kosei Fujita was showing up at all those backyard wrestling shows.
It's just Ryan showing up. Oh god. Let's see. Backstage at All In, Adam Cole and MJF meet up. They show video of that. Thank you, Kate. And MJF is full of complaints, basically saying that Cole hit him too hard and he almost broke his neck. And there are there's going to be a tournament dedicated to finding a world championship, but there's also going to be a battle royal to find out who's going to face them for their Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. And MJF basically says he's going to take a week off. He's going to go to Paris, eat a baguette, bang a bunch of rats, and then, hit a double clothesline or a double clisliz and take care of business. So basically, we did find out that there's going to be a couple of things going on here. There's going to be a battle royal on Rampage to determine who the tag team is that's going to face MJF and Adam Cole, Better Than You, Baby, on Sunday at All Out. So we're going to get that match on Sunday at All Out, whoever the winners are, versus Better Than You, Baby for the Ring of Honor world titles. There's also going to be a world title eliminator tournament to determine MJF's next challenger at Grand Slam. So they're going to start that road, and then the title match will take place at Grand Slam. So Kate, at least we have that to look forward to.
And
I can't hear you.
find a different way to tell a story challenge. Okay. It made me pass out. I'm so burnt out on like thrown together a tournament. And I love a good tournament. You know, I love a good tournament. Everyone here knows I love a good tournament. Love a good tournament. So many stories. Come on. This is like the 4th tournament in like 5 minutes.
Listen, I'm with you 100%. I am just happy that we're going to get a world title match at Grand Slam.
Well, duh. But like the tag ones, especially. This
I don't
is
care
all we do now.
I don't care about the tag shit. That I don't care about. Like they do
That's
this
the
all.
best tag division in the world. Find a different way to tell a story, you lazy punks.
I don't disagree.
You shouldn't. I'm right.
So after the break, we have
Sammy Guevara
getting interviewed backstage by the ravishing Renee Paquette. And before he can say much, Don Callis decides to roll up to recruit him, but he's not having it and basically shoos him off. So not much going on there. I did enjoy, though, how Don Callis said, I just heard you're pregnant. Congratulations. And Tay's like, what? Like 6 months pregnant at this point? I have no idea. So it was just very funny. But interesting wrinkle in the Don Callis family story trying to recruit Sammy Guevara. Don't necessarily hate that.
Sammy should be the one to go with him.
Yes.
He'd be perfect. I'm in on that idea.
Sammy could use it to become a harder edged heel and to sort of like be shown like, look, you can do it. Like, we're just here to support you. Like, we trust you. Do your thing. You know what I mean? Where Jericho always felt like a more controlling mentor. Like, do what I tell you. Like, I know it's right. Just do what I tell you. Like, if they play this right, it could work out.
Agreed.
Adam Cole then makes his entrance. This was the other announced thing we knew was going to happen tonight. Adam Cole made his entrance to get on the mic Mike to talk about All In, and he says he lost the main event, and that hurt really bad, but one day he'll get another shot at the title. Right now, he's just worried about Max's neck. Of course, he said the word neck, and that's what brings out Roddy Strong in his neck brace, along with the Kingdom. Now, I'll say this for the general population here. Mrs. Money says she needs Matt Taven to wear his white gloves all the time because she can't recognize who he is without the white gloves.
It's because he's really boring.
I also enjoy Mike Bennett in the suit. Looking sharp, Mike Bennett.
Don't go
So
crazy about a sharp dress man.
that's very true. And he's got legs. He knows how to use them. So Roddy's upset because Adam cares more about MJF's neck health than his. And Bennett basically starts to unload and says that he used to be really tight with Adam Cole, and their match in Ring of Honor got them signed. And they went up and down the roads together, parked, or picked up each other in their worst moments. And Adam Cole was even at Mike Bennett's wedding, playing the bachelor party. But now he basically has forgotten what that means. And Matt Taven starts to go and basically say, Cole used them and then jump ship to the Bullet Club so he can sell more merch. And then he jumped to Florida and surrounded himself with their friends. And now he wants to come back and say he's a changed man. Well, he's a liar and a leech. And now he's latched on to that corny Melvin MJF because he thinks he's a gateway into that title. And he asks Adam if he sees other people when he looks at old pictures because he's the only person he's ever cared about. I love that, by the way. I thought that was hilarious. I don't know why. And basically tells them they know for a fact that that's not true. And honest to God, if he made them feel that way, Adam Cole, that is, that he's sorry. And he knows they were close at one point. And what he's learned is that you need to be understanding of each other's friendship. And Roddy says that he just can't accept that. And he's going to enter that Grand Slam tournament and do what Cole couldn't. And that's beat MJF in the middle of the ring to become the new world champion with his real friends, Mike and Matt, by his side. And if Cole's his real friend, he'll root for him too. But Adam says that Adam's worried now. He says that Roddy's in no condition to wrestle because of his neck. And Roddy basically mocks his condition, saying that he doesn't need a roll-up or a diamond ring, and a bad neck will not stop him because he's going to break everybody's back to win the tournament because he is a wrestling legend. So I do love this Roddy story. Part of me also in the back of my brain is like, where's Kyle O'Reilly? It's been radio silent on Kyle O'Reilly. Would be kind of amazing if Kyle O'Reilly, and I don't think he's in any shape, but it would be amazing if Kyle O'Reilly does show up somewhere to help Bobby sort of get over, the hump to get to the main event. And basically Adam Cole's in a position where it's like, do I help Roddy? Do I help MJF? Like something like that. I'm fantasy booking here, but I like where this whole story is going. And the neck health line got me to laugh so fucking hard. Does anybody want to add anything here?
Melvin is a top tier insult. Other than that, Matt Taven just ain't for me, man. Wearing purple's not a character, and his promo I just thought was that good today. Like, he basically was like, how dare you succeed in your career, even though I also succeeded into my career and we ended up on the same show. Roddy, scorned lover, broken-necked Roddy, all day though. And Mike Bennett, I thought, did really well too. Part of my complaint with Taven's promo, I was just like, yeah, you just said everything Bennett just said, kind of worse. So, anyway, Matt Taven ain't for me.
I wish they would have added in their video package. I know they had a video package initially with talking about Adam's relationship with the Kingdom before, but I wish they would have had a little bit more video package to go along with the promo tonight of look at our scrapbook of memories together from, back when we were in weddings together, and we had this great match together, and we got contracts. Like, I think they could have helped tell the story a little bit more with the visuals, and it would have helped maybe not let Taven talking much for you, Kate.
It's not great.
I don't ever need to hear Matt Taven talk. He can just wrestle. I think he's a good wrestler, but just he doesn't need to talk. Just have somebody else talk for him. He'll be way better. But he's Matt Taven. We get a Penta promo, just building to the main event. Nothing much there. And then we get our women's match of the night. Britt Baker, DMD. Hikaru Shida and Chris Statlander. She's more than a woman. More than a woman to me. Versus Emi Sakura, Marina Shafir, and Nyla Rose. I'd like to call that team the Island of Misfit Toys. Basically, Britt Baker, Shida, and Statlander win by pinfall with the lateral press from Statlander on Marina Shafir. Post-match, Ruby Soho lays out Chris Statlander with the Destination Unknown, steals the championship from her, basically lays it out on the ramp after she holds it up like, this is mine. More maybe storyline important is the fact that during the match, Shida is holding somebody, Nyla Rose or somebody, and Britt goes to super kick them, and they duck, and she connects with Shida. So, before the match, they were sort of uneasy with each other. This probably doesn't help. So I'm trying to figure out what we're going to do here with Shida and Britt Baker, essentially. I guess they're going to enter a program. But clearly this is just building to Chris Statlander and Ruby Soho on Sunday. Didn't necessarily have a problem with that. Match was what it was. I don't know if anybody... Kate, would you like to add anything about the storylines going on here?
Yeah, the chicken tenders were just great. But it wasn't like a 9:08 slot, which is good. Still like 8 minutes long or whatever. Good to see Emmy on screen. Clearly, they're listening a little bit, since that was a big complaint for people. But yeah, it was fine. I would say, Marina Shafir, you're leaving money on the table by throwing your socks into the crowd. Weird wrestling fans will pay you for those things. So don't just throw your socks into the crowd, man.
It was also weird because I saw her throw something. I didn't know what it was. And I guess she threw him at a little girl, and maybe the little girl was not looking, and everybody looked very confused or like, why would you do that? And I was just like, did something not, like, I sort of didn't see it. And I was like, did she like violate like one of those protocols where it's like, we're not grabbing things and or throwing things at people? But I really think she was just trying to do something cool and like give somebody her socks, I guess. But yeah, that was weird. Anyway, if there's nothing else to be said, we'll move on. One of maybe my favorite segments of the night, and we've talked about things like this when Taz used to do his breakdown of like moves and stuff like this. I enjoyed the hell out of Don Callis watching videotape and basically doing a PowerPoint presentation with Takeshita, basically telling him what he wants to see out of his match, or what he wants to see him focus on during his match with Kenny Omega on Sunday. Things like, you know, his neck and which moves will injure his neck, or his back, or where his hernia was surgically repaired. And then he says that basically if none of that works, he's got a backup. And he shows the videotape of him stabbing Kenny Omega in the forehead with the screwdriver. And that really gets Takeshita going. And then we go to break. I just thought this was so much fun. Basically showing the x-rays, then showing the videotape and multiple angles of the moves to do. I just thought it was a lot of fun. And Don Callis is great. And Takeshita's a goddamn star. So I don't know if anybody else wants to add anything, but I liked it.
Just
More
that
of
there
this,
was,
please.
yeah,
More of it.
way more of this, and it's just like insane because Kenny'd been through so many surgeries. He was like, you could go after these vertebrae or his abdominal cavity or any, like, Kenny had so many things that he went through. I was like, you can target his whole body at the end of this, but God bless. Takeshi's just gonna eat Cinnabon and target Kenny's vertebrae. God bless him.
And it all makes real world sense, right? Because Don Callis would know about all this, right? Like he was aligned with Kenny during that time, and he was like family to Kenny, right? So it would make sense that he knows everything that happened and can basically tell Takeshita how to, neutralize him. So that's why I thought this was all so great, because it sort of all made logical sense as well. So more of that, as Ryan said. He's a man of few words, but those were good ones. Thank you, Ryan.
Important words. Important words.
Very important.
I'm just glad they weren't a song or a pun.
There's still time. Don't worry.
You could be so lucky.
We do get what was late announced, a ribbon cutting ceremony from the Acclaimed. Billy Gunn basically says that Sunday was a good day and they became trios champions. Caster cuts his own promo about All In and says that he thought it was fitting to come back here to Chicago, where they were lifted up to the next level, and they promised they'll lift the titles up with pride. And there's one way that they wanted to start off the reign, and that's with a ribbon cutting ceremony. And Caster pulls out his pair of normal scissors, and Billy says, "That's a small one. Let me use my big one." And he pulls out the big scissors. Get it? It's a dick joke. So they cut it, and then basically Bowens welcomes everybody to the House of Ass, which goes over like $1 million. They'd better make a goddamn shirt, because it will sell like hotcakes. They sold how many shirts that said "Scissor Me Daddy"? They can sell a ton of shirts that say House of Ass.
Oh yeah.
And he said that in this house they wear pink, which is why they have replacements for the old trios titles that are quite dull. So they pull the cloths off what's on the table to reveal new trios titles on pink leather. And as they turn the belts around, the ends of them are scissors. So even their belts can scissor. And they scissor me daddy ass, and now they're off with their trios titles. I will say this. I would 100% for a reasonable price get a replica scissor trio title. I think they looked fantastic. They're fun, but I still don't understand what we're goddamn doing with these things.
They looked like the old IC title belts with pink straps, which is hysterical to me.
Yeah.
I just wish I had more of an interest in seeing them have trios matches, because they're all kind of the same. It's like Bowen shows out, we get a mic drop from Caster, we get the famous surge from Billy. There's one really good wrestler in there, so we'll see where it builds. Doesn't need to be a long reign, but ceremony was fine. I just don't have like an interest in this.
No, I mean, they could have done this in a pre-tape package, just showing off their belts. But
I will say, if you're gonna lean into this House of Ass thing, and this new run of trio champions, I want them to develop a finisher with all three of them and call it the HOA.
Ooh,
they're a house, like it only makes sense, right?
Pay your dues. Pay your dues.
Well played, Joe. Well played.
Very well played.
We do get a promo from Aussie Open. They're going to get their titles back. They're going to win the Battle Royale. Great. And now we're on to our main event. It is Orange Cassidy. I was going to say Aussie Open. See, I still had the Aussies on my brain.
Oi, oi, oi.
Orange Cassidy. Are we doing hand symbols again? Let's try it again. Ready? Aussie Open. So close, Ryan. You're in the city, but you're not
in the city.
Yeah, city. Nope.
It's not interlocking. It's just like a little outline.
I don't even know if he's in the area code, let alone
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, what were they called? Fuck. Yeah, the wind beneath my wings. Anyway, main event: Orange Cassidy versus Penta for the international championship. And my goodness, I mean, I thought this was going to be a good match. I thought this was a phenomenal match. Penta did some shit that looked so violent. Like, even for Penta, like Penta was fighting with some edge tonight. Thought that was great. Orange Cassidy wasn't laying down for anything. One of my favorite things is when he stopped Penta and then started doing the slow slap thing. And commentary, I think Excalibur was like, "Oh, he's slowing it down to his level." Like, I just loved how now it's like, "Oh, this makes sense. He's slowing things down." And then somebody else even said, like, "Oh, this is psychological." You know what I mean? Like, I just love those little things. But Orange Cassidy gets hit with a fear factor, kicks out, or I'm sorry, grabs the ropes, and that fear factor was on the apron. So Penta goes for another fear factor in the middle of the ring. Orange does kick out, and Penta is sort of stunned, which gives Orange Cassidy the opportunity to hit a flash pin to retain the international championship. Penta still a little upset at this post-match. Him and Abrahantes can't believe it. Eventually, they do leave. No fisticuffs between the two. The shocking thing is that post-match, Orange Cassidy grabs a chair, asks for a mic, sits down, and actually talks in an AEW ring by himself. And he says he doesn't usually like to talk, but here we are. He's so tired, his body hurts, and every time he comes for a title defense, that backpack gets a little bit heavier, but he's here, he's wrestling, he's defended that international championship because it means everything to him, and that's what AEW is. He was told he was never going to amount to anything because he's too skinny, he's too short, he's too different, but there he is, a champion, and he's going to keep defending that title as long as he wants, and nobody's going to take it from him. So Mox better bring more than a fork because he's freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy, and he does not have a catchphrase. So that brings out Moxley. They go forehead to forehead. Mox shoves him. Orange Cassidy paintbrushes him. Immediately shakes his hand because now he's in pain because he hits him. And that is the show. So we are building clearly to this match Sunday, which I think is going to be our main event. But I just think that this was a great moment for Orange Cassidy. One, he retains. I think that's what we all thought was going to happen, right? He's going to get to the pay-per-view. But I love the fact that he sat down and talked because we don't ever see that from Orange Cassidy. And he did it well. I thought he really delivered well. He was like in character, but not in character. And he was sort of talking some truth. So
he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. You guys will all realize that someday.
Well, let's not forget about Marco Stunt, okay?
Very good point. Very
He's maybe second GOAT. But I really liked all of this. I thought the match was fucking awesome, and I thought the post match was really good build. And again, from a guy that I think we thought would never basically build a match on a mic, I thought it was fantastic. So, floor is open if anybody would like to add some closing comments on this match or anything else on the show.
Match was great. Very violent, like you said, which I loved. It does feel like they're really protecting Orange Cassidy to take a loss on Sunday, which I don't hate, especially with Jon Moxley working other places. Like, he likes to work the Indies, he likes to work Japan. It can kind of be that ambassadorial title. But I also feel like Orange Cassidy's already made by this reign, but if you want to make him, him beating Jon Moxley in the main event as a beat up, violent guy who is just running on OJ and Hart, like, holy shit, that guy would be cemented. It could be really, really fun. And I actually think they might do that because they probably knew MJF's not defending his title. So, like, how do we make something feel really big and important would be to heat up the international title for this. So that it might be Moxley doing this to do exactly that, to cement Orange Cassidy's reign here. But I loved the match. My God, like this was so much fun, and Penta made Orange Cassidy look great, and he doesn't need the help, but he was laying in so hard and was so controlled but frustrated by the fact that Orange Cassidy would not stay down. Like, just really, really good shit. And I loved the promo after. I loved the button he put on it of I'm freshly squeezed, I don't have a catchphrase, is like such a fantastic thing. He's great. Orange Cassidy's such a fantastic performer, and it was just a nice reminder of like, he chooses to do this thing because he's great at it and it works and it's fun. But he's a real deal wrestler, and he has skills beyond what get revealed every week. So good shit. Really good shit.
And again, it's true. I mean, we've all sort of seen like some of the stuff, like people saying, I don't like it, I don't get it, he's weird, dude, the guy can fucking wrestle. I mean, my God. And this title, well, second GOAT. But man, like, this has just been a hell of a run, and he continues to come out taped up. Like, it just adds more importance to what he's doing. Joe, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I like the fact that I don't know if it was on Rampage or Collision where they had a little backstage promo with him talking to Moxley and talking about how he's not the same Orange Cassidy from 4 or 5 years ago, whenever he came here, and the evolution of that character to where it's at today, I think, is what we've all kind of like fantasy booked in our heads about where he should go with his character. From going from the slow sloth-like style to like really showing personality and really turning it on in his matches he's had during his reign. I've really enjoyed that part, and like talking about the match with Penta. I thought the spot where he does a tope and Penta catches him into a military press was like really impressive. And then the only thing I had questioned about the match was one spot of like the back and forth destroyers of like they did like 2 or 3 in a row to each other. I thought that's a little bit.
Yeah, those are nuts.
I'm like, I get it, looks cool, but like, if I'm taking one of them, I'm not popping back up and doing another one. And like, it's not believable to me, but that's my only complaint. But otherwise, yeah, the promo was great. Speaking, again, involving his character and speaking out more.
Schlong, you want to put a point on anything? I just don't want to leave you out. I know you said Orange Cassidy is the GOAT, but
yeah, I think we just can't stress that enough. You see matches he has put on, great match after great match after great match. And every time he puts on a great match, people are surprised, and it just keeps happening. At some point, you got to admit, he's just that good.
Brian is personally attacking the Shining Wizards, and I love it.
Yes.
Subtweeting him.
It is. And I love it. I love it.
I do love it. So, guys,
they're the B show, right? So.
Oh, well, you know it. You're here on the A show, so.
The young boy already knows. You love it.
Called right up.
That was Dynamite, so we're clearly building to All Out on Sunday. So here's what we know. Here's what we know the card looks like right now. So as Kate said, it was announced after Dynamite went off the air that we're going to get Eddie Kingston and Shibata versus Claudio and Wheeler Yuta. We're also going to have MJF and Adam Cole defending their Ring of Honor World Tag Team title belts against the Battle Royal winner that's going to take place on Friday at Rampage. Samoa Joe, it was announced during the show, is going to defend his Ring of Honor World TV title against Shane Taylor. Now, this was something I said I wanted to hold because my hope here is that we take the belt off of Joe and give it to Shane Taylor. And maybe we start to see what we were hoping for, is that some of these guys who are sort of Ring of Honor, lifers, or guys you would equate with Ring of Honor before anything else, start to take these titles. I would not hate Shane Taylor holding this title. He's held it before. He's a ring. Like when you think Shane Taylor, you think Ring of Honor. I
Hell
get it,
yeah.
it's part of the lineage, but this deserves to go to Shane Taylor, in my opinion. So maybe that's what we'll see with the tag titles. Maybe not Sunday, but eventually they'll come off them and go to somebody who's a real Ring of Honor team.
Hundo P.
We're also going to get FTR and the Young Bucks versus Bullet Club Gold. Miro versus Powerhouse Hobbs, which we had known about. That should slap. We'll have Kenny Omega versus Takeshita. Chris Statlander will be defending her TBS championship versus Ruby Soho. Orange Cassidy, we know now, will be defending his international title versus Jon Moxley in what is probably going to be the main event. And we're going to have Luchasaurus, the true TNT champion, versus Darby Allin. So we'll see what happens there. My guess is Christian is involved in some way. That is the All Out card right now. Not sure if they can add much else to it, but my question to you guys is this worth your pay-per-view buy?
I get to reimburse it because I'm reviewing it, so yes. Under any other circumstance, I would say no. They should have made this a bundled deal with All In and done it for $75 for the two of them. I think it's a mistake, and if they continue down this path, it's not going to go well because they are announcing more pay-per-views like Wrestle Dream, and they're going to need to find a different model if they're not going to get on Max sooner than later.
I agree with Kate.
And it was stated too, actually, in the media scrum. Somebody asked about running these shows sort of back to back because they've already announced next year's All In. Tony Khan mentioned that the reasoning behind that is the fact that, and I didn't know this past weekend was a bank holiday weekend in the UK. So he wanted to do it in the UK over that holiday weekend. And he does All Out over our holiday weekend here in the US for Labor Day. And he doesn't want to give up that real estate. Like, he owns it. He doesn't want to give that up. I get that. I don't know if they can't figure out a better way to work this moving forward. It's not going to work. You're going to stretch yourself way too thin. But I understand the thinking. It sort of makes sense when you put it like that, right? It's a couple holiday weekends. Like, I own Labor Day now. Like, he does. Nobody else is doing a Labor Day pay-per-view. So, like, I get it. But they're way, way close together. This has to be well thought out next year before I'm ready to say this makes sense in perpetuity. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Tony Khan's full of shit. On this.
It does make sense, though, when you look at who else is running a pay-per-view over Labor Day weekend. They're the only ones. Why would
sure.
you give that up? And
I mean, if NXT had a great card, this would look really dumb. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a good enough justification to offset it. But yeah, good for Tony. Make your bag, but get on a subscription service because.
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
Or bundle it. Do one or the other.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. So just closing out a few things. They did confirm dates and locations for Full Gear. They're going to be doing Full Gear. Sorry, I just had the date and it's now gone. Full Gear is going to take place November 18th in Los Angeles at the Kia Forum. So put that on your calendar, November 18th. But Tony also in the media scrum announced that they're adding a pay-per-view. He said, I can announce for the first time October 1st at Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle. It will be the first ever Wrestle Dream, which will be a 1-year anniversary of the passing of wrestling's greatest dreamer. That's Inoki. He thought it would be a fitting, and after All Out, you won't have to wait for Full Gear in November. So they're adding a pay-per-view. That was something also that had been rumored that they wanted to see more sort of premium events, Warner Brothers. So it sort of makes sense. He was also asked if New Japan was going to be involved in that show, and he said he was hopeful. He's talked to them about it. I think they want to participate in the show and send some people, and they're very supportive. and I want to do something for him, Inoki. So that's what he said. So we'll see. But now we have Wrestle Dream to build to after All Out. So who knows? I don't like the name.
That's an Inoki thing though, right?
Yeah, but I still don't like it.
Yeah, it's not great. If they do ZSJ and Danielson in Seattle, I'm gonna just forfeit my bank account.
Oh man. Well,
It's like the perfect thing, right? To do it in Seattle on an Inoki tribute show.
Can he be cleared to wrestle is the thing.
By then I would hope so. Yeah.
I hope so.
Goodness.
And then just a couple late breaking sort of rumor mill things that have been hitting. So there were also reports that Miro and Punk got into it backstage. There's conflicting reports. Fightful says that they were joking around. It was misinterpreted by wrestlers who heard the story. But F4W Online and Brian Alvarez are maintaining that it's a true story and there was a serious issue between Punk and Miro. So take your sides in that report, whatever you want to believe. The belief is also from Fightful that Punk versus Ricky Starks for the Real World Championship was at one point likely the main event for Sunday's All Out pay-per-view, but it is now uncertain given Punk's reported suspension following the altercation with Jack Perry at All In. So I don't know. We'll see, but I don't think that's happening. PW Insider is also claiming that the belief among those in AEW is that Punk was fined for taking shots at Hangman Page for the August 12th episode of Collision. After the August 12th episode of Collision went off the air, and it may have even been in the 5-figure range. Whoa, heyo. PW Torch, in further Punk news, is saying that Punk wasn't the only wrestler underwhelmed with the travel accommodations in London for All In. Multiple wrestlers were not picked up at the airport, which is something that the WWE and New Japan handle well when it comes to international tours. So for those who didn't hear, is Punk didn't have a way to get to his hotel. The phone number he was given for a car didn't work. He had to take the tube and got lost, and fans had to actually help him find his hotel. That also probably made the Bear a little grumpy when he got to the stadium on Sunday. And finally, there are some rumors about COVID in AEW, which might be related to Tony Khan's announcement before Dynamite went on the air about changes to the card. So rumors are there are some people who may have COVID, and that is why there were a lot of people who were sick for All In. So we'll have to wait and see. It is going around, people. So stay protected. Wash your hands. If you're not feeling well, take a test. Get a booster. Do what you got to do. But COVID is definitely still here. So just be safe. And that is it, friends. That's all we got. Unless anything else has anything they want to say.
I just got in a fight with CM Punk.
Oh, Kate.
Yeah, sorry.
You too?
Not great.
Breaking news. Kate got
I was just playing that Walking on Broken Glass song, and here we are. So.
Oh, how could you? My God.
Now we can go home.
He is a cult of personality. Let's do it. Kate, tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Miss Kate Fabe. You can catch me on Fightful and Fightful Select Monday, on Select Tuesday, Thursday and Friday on the main channel, and twice this weekend because we have back-to-back pay-per-view Saturday and Sunday. Very glad I get to sleep in on Monday, and it is a day off. I might be at Excite this weekend. I'll let you guys know, but I don't know if I'm booked, so there you go.
Boom. A lot of stuff.
Roasted.
Follow Kate and she'll tell you where she's at. Ryan, plug yourself. What do you got going on?
You can find me on our Twitter at MarkOrderPod. That's mostly where I am. Just interact with me, be a good person. And then you can follow my history blog, which is not rewriting history. It's called hereforhistory.com.
Yeah, that's right. It's not rewriting. It's whitewashing.
There it is.
Same thing.
And Joe, How about you? Plug what you got going on.
Just find me on the social medias at _Asian Joe, and apparently I'll be on here now every Wednesday.
Woohoo! Joe's gonna be here on
got the graphic.
Wednesdays. He did get graphics. We're stealing that. We're gonna use that for other things as we find acceptable. And also stay tuned to everybody else out there. We got some things we've been talking about. So now with Joe on the team, maybe some of those things we can put to work.
Hell yeah.
Or into practice. Jeez, I'm losing it. Anyway, find us at Mark Order Pod on all socials. I don't have anything to plug. Find us on all of our socials at Mark Order Pod, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Twitch. Or not Twitch. What is it? Fucking what all the kids are watching, the short
TikTok?
video. TikTok. God damn. And thanks to everybody who watched along live tonight in the chat. The Jesse Ozogs, Pedro, Sean Ireland, Pro Wrestling Podcast, 1LT Photo, Slonamite was hanging out before, Gordon Post, Pieces, which is with a 1. Thank you everybody for chatting along. Leron Ford, thank you so much. We enjoy seeing you guys chat along. And thank you to everybody who's listening in podcast form. We appreciate you guys too. If anybody could take the time to give us a subscribe, like, rate, review on YouTube and any of our podcast platforms that you find us on, it is greatly appreciated. You think it doesn't help, but it really does. It really does help us show up in the algorithms and do some other stuff. We're pushing YouTube. We have to get to 500 subscribers. We are thinking of things we could do as maybe a giveaway for 500. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Other than that, we will be back next week to talk about All Out. Probably not in as much length as All In because let's be honest, there's not going to be any drama backstage. All the troublemakers have been removed. So a lot of fun here with the fearsome foursome that is now the Mark Order Podcast. Thanks, everybody. A lot of fun. We will talk to you next week here on the Mark Order Podcast.
This concludes the Mark Order Podcast. We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. Join the Mark Order.